What's up, gamers? It's your Cryptid here. I'm a barista today. I'm working at not Starbucks. Spirit Box, maybe? But hello, everybody. Iron Bite, congrats on second. Cupid, congrats on third. And Dahlia, congrats on first. I like how every single one of those was out of order. But hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. It is, of course, a yoga and curry day, but before then we can play video games for a couple hours. We are starting this up for the first time as Necrobarista. It's about coffee and necromancy? You thought I was going to be a cat lawyer? Wait, why would I be a cat lawyer? Wait, what? Is there even a cat lawyer game? I know there's a bird lawyer game, there's aviary attorney. New game. Yeah, I feel like there's a game called Valhalla, which was like a cyberpunk bartending simulation game. And then after that, everyone was all about making like coffee shop and bar games, kinda. How do I wake up? Oh, you misread both parts, Neko and Barista? Oh. They thought of the faraway grave on the plain. They thought of the comrade who came not again. They lifted their glasses and sadly they said, "We drink to the name of the mate who is dead. Henry Lawson." It's too bloody damp down here. I know we're underground, but I don't suppose there are any windows we could open? There's a ventilation duct in here somewhere. Hey, Kitty! Kitty says, just waiting for the tube train, so can't listen for now, but have a good stream. Oh, let me see in chat. Thank you, Kitty. Maddie, mind opening it up and get some fresh air circulating? Other end's blocked right now. There's a dumpster sitting on top of it. You'll have to grin and bear it. Can we hurry this up? Calm your farm, old man. You're well aware it takes a while to set up. I don't appreciate your tone. Hey, Kitty! Kitty says, just realized I actually do have my headphones. Yay! Hello, Kitty! This is Necrobarista, which is about necromancy and coffee, I think. I think it's kind of like Valhalla, maybe? The bartending sim? I think it's like a coffee shop sim, but maybe with spirits? Sorry. At the very least, can we turn some lights on? With all the rubbish you got scattered around the place, I'd like to at least know where I'm putting my feet. Ashley, would you mind? Oh. Okay, there's way more people down here than I thought. Dang. Thanks. You're more organized than last time, I see. Practice makes perfect. Hey, Maddie. How much more wire do we need? I think that's enough. Great. Now. Che? What's up, Lil P? I found you a chair. Ah, thank you. Katie said, does the coffee have restoration powers? I'm not sure yet. So far, we're like in an underground hacker place, it seems like. So, this whole thing. Surely it's not legal, yeah? Maddie wasn't clear on that. Yeah, the council found it confronting. For good reason, I suppose. Because it utterly upsets the natural order. Mate, it's not just bureaucracy. Shush you. Most rules can be bent, after all. And Maddie has a particular fascination with breaking rules. As I'm sure you've realized. Hey, don't give her all the credit. Bah. Is this related to her gambling for time? Mm-hmm. So, the transfer was the same sort of magic we're doing now, yes. Small scale, though. Does that mean that, like... It seems like we're about to, like, bring someone back? And it sounds like... Maybe she, like, gambled her life away or something? Like, literally, like, gambled her life force or something. This is small scale, though. Doing it on a larger scale requires a bit more preparation. The Council successfully suppressed all available information about it, though. For good reason. What happens if something goes wrong? Well, you don't tend to mess it up more than once. Or try it again after you fail, for that matter. Stubborn scholars notwithstanding. What do you even call this sort of magic, then? Question's irrelevant, because it's banned. Extremely cool? That's what I call it. Well, by definition, it's a conduit ritual. But hey, we're among friends, so we can call it what it really is. Necromancy. I like these people. They're like some kind of cool underground necromancy gang. Oh, hey, Shadow. Hello. From your hazy memories, a certain word calls out to you. Necromancy. You tried desperately to remember what it meant. Death. Oh. This fragment of a memory stays with you. Piece together the past. Remember what transpired. And never forget. You are... Scattered, practice, bureaucracy, disheveled, callous, banned. That's a lot of words. I can't read them all. They're too fast. Oh. Oh. Maybe we gotta walk to the coffee shop. Let me turn the volume up a little for you guys. There we go. Gotta have some like chill coffee shop music. Alright, this way. Gotta love a rainy alleyway. Ooh. The Tree of Life. Press and hold to inspect a memory. Oh. I didn't get to read it all. Okay. Maddie's rules. 1. We welcome both living and dead. Patrons will be served in the order they arrived. 2. Don't ask who's alive. It's rude. If someone wants you to know, they'll tell you. 3. The dead have 24 hours to spend within the premises before moving on. Strictly enforced. 4. No, we don't have Wi-Fi. 5. Report broken items and other anomalies to staff. We can't clean up your broken glass or spatial rift if we don't know about it. 6. Don't feed the Eidolons. They can't eat, and offering them food just reminds them of that cruel fact. This is a cool looking coffee shop. Hi, Mercury! Accommodations for the dead, but they draw the line at Wi-Fi. No Wi-Fi, I know. You can't be on your phone at this coffee shop, you gotta talk with the other patrons. Also, hello, Teapot! Part 1. The Terminal. Carlton, Victoria. Australia, 3053. Excerpts from online reviews. Pretty unremarkable coffee. The barista speaks Chinese but exclusively uses it to mock people to their faces. I'm very self-conscious about my top hat now. I observed a little girl running around the cafe with a knife, unsupervised. I came down with a deep sense of ennui after visiting. I was rudely told to stop being a big dweebus after complaining about the burnt taste in coffee. This coffee's some of the best I've ever had. 5 stars. Disclosure, I have no taste buds. The door closes. How's the game audio, guys? Let me know. Also, thank you for lurking, Teapot. My first patron. Hey, mate. You right? Ah! You can see me? Clear as day, yeah. What can I get you? I've been walking around for hours. Or maybe it just felt like hours. It can be hard to judge time when you're wandering around aimlessly. Nobody was talking to me. I don't even know how I got in here. I think you'll find it was via the front door. Okay. Right. Where am I? This dearly departed is the terminal. What are the prices over here? It's $4 for tea, $4 for water and juice, $5 for kombucha. Carlton's finest. Departed? Oh, hey, Stormfrog. Stormfrog says, could I get a French vanilla cappuccino with a double shot of espresso, a pinch of cinnamon and nutmeg in equal measures, served hot with a slice of banana nut bread? I love banana bread. I always get that. They say our coffee's to die for. So, I don't really know how to go about this. Ask me anything, man. You're not the first disheveled dead guy to drop in, and I'm sure you won't be the last. This guy has the look of someone who's been through a lot. Hey, Mooney! What does everyone else ask? They generally ask, what does everyone else ask? Ah, shoot. And they always say that. Then there's the embarrassed silence. Maddie is normally the one to enjoy peace and quiet, but some silences are just awkward. Alright. I get it. You make a habit of bullying everyone who comes through, or just the pitiful ones? It's almost exclusively the latter. I guess that's consistent. Always felt like people saw me as a pitiful guy. Sorry, I was actually just kidding there. No, you're right. I'm a freaking sad sack. Boss hated me, family hated me, work sucked. Just like everything else about me. Now I'm never ever gonna have a chance to make things better for myself. That's it. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. Hey, come on. And now I'm sitting in a cafe for dead people, falling apart in front of the barista. Mate, pull it together. By the way, in case you can't tell, this takes place in Australia, I think. Number 1 rule. No breakdowns in the cafe, please. I promise, man. You're okay. I know how it is. Are you dead? No. And I don't know if you read the rules outside, but God, I did, yes. I can't even get that right. In that case, you'll also have read that you have 24 hours left before you gotta move on to the next place. And I don't think you want to spend them having one long, extended panic attack. 24 hours? Aw, shoot. What I'm saying is, everything's okay. Just take some deep breaths. We'll sort this out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a fuss. Cafe's empty. It's not like I've got anything else going on. Don't worry about it. Are you sure? I'm kind of a burden. Guys, I'm having an important conversation. You're still trying to make orders? Come on, read the room. We gotta help this guy first. Then we can get you your paninis. And your banana breads. You're not, I promise. Chin up, mate. Let me tell you about the building. It's got some cool history. So the first time I came here was about 4 years ago. Reading the room, I'd rather read the menu. Mooney. Mooney's thinking with her stomach. And that's why you should never ever serve a martini to a dead biker, even if he specifically asks for one. Huh. Of all the possible ways to react to that, that's one I certainly didn't expect. Yeah, no point in seeking eternal vengeance if you're gonna have to leave in a few hours anyway. It kinda strips it of the meaning, you know? There's no way to tell whether you'll even care once you cross over. One Fangy latte coming right up, Alice. But then again, maybe I'm just being a buzzkill about it. Shouldn't go around policing people's reactions to things. I'm still wrapping my head around all this. Death, that is. It feels weird to say it, doesn't it? Weird. Yeah, that's the word. So you said most people don't ever find out how they died before they pass? Even if they got murdered or something? Yep. Most people don't die from murder. It's mostly sickness, or old age, or lawnmower accidents. Well, they call them accidents. But really, loads of lawnmowers are possessed by evil spirits. Rotom? That said... Alright, hold on just a minute. You can't just drop that and move on. Possessed lawnmowers? Seriously? Well, anything with spinning blades attracts them. Garden equipment, blenders, power saws. People scoff at the idea of a robot uprising, like we haven't spent decades arming our machines with blades. They're a real pain in the bum. Gotta do at least 1 or 2 exorcisms a month on the coffee grinder. That's wild. There's a queue forming, Cubic said. My coffee shop is so popular. So I know I'm breaking the rules again, but how many people in here are dead? Yeah. It's a cafe for dead people. Does that mean it's everyone? Or are some of these people just really into ghost cafes? A little of column A, a little of column B. Plenty of mortals come through. But this is one of the only crossing points in the country, so we get a lot of your type. That's also why the rent is so high. Landlords, the original rent seekers. Because those vampires who own the place know we get a lot of foot traffic. Literal vampires? No. Like boomers, the landlord class. Ah. Same thing, I guess. Engenosaki! So to answer your question, there are 9 customers in here right now. Out of those 9, yourself included, I'd say 4 or 5 of them are just passing through on their way to the next place. How can you tell? Once you've worked here for a while, you get a sort of 6th sense for this kind of thing. Gotcha. Speaking of 6th senses, I've got one for trouble. You have 2 6th senses? Oh, we have food over here too. We have toast, eggs, muesli, French toast croissant, avocado toast, grilled cheese steak sandwich. There's no banana bread. Hello, Ashley. Ashley had adopted the cafe staff a couple years back, much in the same way that a puppy adopts a squeaky toy. She was the kind of ferociously smart kid who absorbed information like a sponge, but only used it to cause trouble. Today she was accompanied by the stench of motor oil, and brought with her a look that said, "I'm an invincible genius." So now I feel like the music's a little too loud. I don't know if it's just me. I have the hardest time with like audio balancing. Ashley has fancied herself a genius ever since the day that Maddie invited her to become a spunky sidekick. She was mostly right about that one. Alright, I know that look. Spit it out. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Cut the crap, kid. What are you after? I'm busy dealing with a customer. Oh, I'm not really needing any attention. Shut up, Kishan. I need an extra pair of hands, and none of my Ashlings are around to help. Don't you have any clamps? We got you a bunch for your birthday last month. Aging a year just means you're 1 year closer to death. An odd thing to celebrate. Stormfrog says, waiting for the day Fangy opens her own cafe. Eerie espresso. Ozark omelets, Fangy fritters, and cryptic crunch muffins. I would eat that menu. All the clamps are being used for other very important things. They were not. A full moon? Ow, ow, ow! Tonight is not moonless. Pretty sure I saw one on a table upstairs earlier. No, I really need a helper. Ashley, I'm busy. Please. Hey, I could probably... I could... Come on, Ashley, you've got to let us work. I'm not gonna get anything done down here if I have to keep going upstairs to find the screwdrivers you've misplaced. Trying to improvise a screwdriver is a good way to end up with stripped screws. Use the right tool for the job. Hey, Scott! Hello! But... Hey! No dice. Well, what about Che? He can help me. But what about... He's emptying the dishwasher. Sound familiar? It should, because I told you to do it an hour ago. Oh. It's really no trouble. Oh. Why don't I take this guy? Only thing he's busy with is being dead. Hey. Come on. Ashley, I'm not going to argue with you about this. I'm sure you would rather relax than be bossed around. Also, manners. We've talked about this. You've got to be more respectful in front of the customers. Please! You read the title as Necrobarista? So did Cubic! Everybody thinks I'm a cat today. I'm not a cat. I'm a necromancer or something. Mogada's like, I was looking forward to some cute cats, and instead I got dead guys. I'm happy to go upstairs. Really, it's fine. I don't have anything else going on. And I'm super dead. I'm cool with it. I'm Kishan. Very dead guy. Happy to help. You sure? I can just send her back upstairs. Promise. It's fine. I just sit around and be a pain otherwise. So I'm curious because Maddie called him Kishan earlier before he introduced himself, but maybe he introduced himself to her just off screen. Perfect. Come, peon. In follower hierarchy, peons are only one level below assistant and one level above minion. We've got work to do. I would put minion above peon, I feel like. You're hoping for skeletons? None yet. I actually wasn't getting enough attention. But with Maddie's newfound responsibilities, some sacrifices had to be made. That meant the kid would just have to occupy herself more often than not. She still felt guilty as heck about it, though. You know, I reckon this place needs more plants. Oh, Jesus Christ, Che. You're gonna give me a heart attack, you old jerk. What's on your mind? Head in the clouds, as per usual. Did I look like I was thinking weighty thoughts? Excruciatingly so. What's going on? Nothing important. Just my... just my resting bitch face. I couldn't think of a good synonym. Nope. This one's different. How so? Your facial expressions reminded me of that time you tried to fistfight that cosplayer. Cosplay is short for costume play, and bad things can happen when play suddenly becomes serious business. Oh, the samurai? The one who barged in waving his gift store katana around and demanding satisfaction after I refused to put 15 shots in his coffee? Weirdly specific. What's it look like? Well, it looks like you just got threatened with 1,000-fold Nippon steel. It's a precious memory, so I remember it very clearly. A mix of deep disgust. People with a high disgust sensitivity seldom do well in the kitchen environment. Somehow, Maddie manages. You didn't know that cosplay was short for something? Yeah. It's like one of those combination words. Costume and play. A whole bunch of derision. And a tiny pinch of pity. Yep. That's me. What a mood. Look how big this coffee shop is. It's got a whole library up there, basically. You alright, though? Real talk. I'm fine. I'm actually fine, or let's not talk about it fine. The second one. Pharaoh. Offer's still open if you'd like to talk things out, though. In the meantime, sorry. Can I grab that tea towel? My hands are wet. Oh. Yeah, here you go. So, do the dishes need hand washing, or... I'm sure I told Ashley to empty the dishwasher earlier. Nah. Thing's busted. Door latch won't close. Might call the repairman. Ashley shouldn't wash them by hand anyway. Her arm would corrode. So I did it. Her arm would corrode. So she must have a prosthetic? Not a problem. Yeah, fair enough. So like I mentioned, it'll need a repair unless you want to let Ashley at it. Some people remain stubbornly defiant in the face of planned obsolescence. Replacements are for quitters. I'd call the repairman myself, but our landline stopped working last week. We have a landline? Yes. Ancient technology, and an elegant tool for a less civilized age. Only works when you pay the bill, though. I don't know if it'd be cheaper to get it repaired, or just buy a new one and give Ashley the old one for parts. The costs are pretty close, all things considered. Hey, don't work too hard. You'll worry yourself into an early grave. Hey, you spent 50 years digging holes. If you want to see a lot of Earth, you can become a globetrotter, or you can just pick up a shovel. That sounds like pretty tough work, old man. Ow. Old man? For your information, I'm barely, 170-ish? I'm failing to see the inaccuracy. It was during a literal gold rush. Everyone was doing it. Only thing different about me is that I eventually started digging up things more interesting than gold. Only kind of gold I'm interested in is brown gold. What's that? Coffee. Coffee. Shut up. Hey. So... I know it's just another stress in the stress pile, but I think we need to put in an order for more kitchenware soon. Ugh. Yeah, another thing that costs money. We're beginning to run out of cutlery, though. Summary of Offenses Act 1988, Section 11C. A person must not, without reasonable excuse, proof of which lies on the person, have in his or her custody a knife in a public place or a school. It keeps disappearing. I'm not sure where. I don't know how long it can wait before we get more. Ugh. I don't know if we can afford that this month. Just, you know, everything's a bit too pricey right now. It doesn't help that the coffee cartels keep pushing prices up. I don't think the importer is part of a cartel. They're quite nice. I've even seen photos of their kids. You ever spoken to them? They're obviously criminals with the prices they charge. The worst kinds of criminals are the ones who operate within the bounds of legality. Wholesale my bum? And yet we keep buying from them. Well, yeah. The beans are good, man. It's just everything else on top of them that's stressing me out. Ah, yes. I'll happily accept the blame for some of that. It's fine. You don't have to. I know it's all on me. I've just gotta figure out how to pay everything off. Everything. And everyone. That crummy council of death and the doubly crummy time debt we owe to them are the last things I want to think about right now. I've lost enough sleep over already. Hey, I'm here to help. I'm worried about you, you know? You've had a lot of responsibility dropped on you in a very short period of time. Maddie's been saddled with a great responsibility. She's still waiting for the great power that's supposed to come with it. And I can't help but feel a little bit culpable for that. I know. Yeah, I know. And you, I can't thank you enough. Shh. It's alright. Hold yourself together. We'll figure it out as a team just like we always have. I just don't want to deal with it, you know? I get it. And I don't want you to feel like I'm imposing or interfering too much. I know the cafe is yours now. And even though things are a bit much at the moment, I know I keep saying this, Maddie, but I don't know how much time we have to deal with all this before things start falling apart. Things are already falling apart. But you're gonna have to face reality at some point. You know that, right? Che, oh my god, yes, I know. I don't need any more reminders from you. Back off, man. The council's always on my mind. I can't escape them. My best is all I can do, okay? Just because you're my best friend and my old boss, and my mentor, doesn't mean I need you preaching at me about how I need to deal with my problems. Because they're my problems now, not yours. Alright, no worries. I'll give you some space. Might go check on Ashley. You seen her recently? She's upstairs. Dragged a customer up there talking about clamps or something. I'd better go rescue them then. Be back in a bit. I like the background music here. It sounds familiar to me and I don't know why. Crap, he's right, isn't he? We really could use some more plants. So, we're gonna strap a big ol' steak knife to it. And make them fight each other. I love it. This is gonna be great. I wanna build something that gets put on the TV show Row Battle Royale. Row Battle Royale! I love it. Wait, with flamethrowers on it. You're not gonna put one on this little guy, are ya? A flamethrower? Probably not. But I want you to record the fight on my phone so we can send it to the producers. Producers have a real thirst for schlock? I hope that's not like an Australian cuss word. Yeah, sure thing. Let's get this knife attached. Pass me those zip ties. Zip ties? And the knife. Knife. And my coffee. Are you sure? Who even gave you that? Coffee. Darn it. It's empty. My coffee's empty, Kishan. The world is beginning to vibrate. Maybe it's good that your cup runs empty, yeah? I think my cup needs to run it with more espresso in it. How many shots did you put in there? Too many, Kishan. But did anyone ask Icarus how many shots of espresso he had? Yeah, I'm reading a book about Icarus. Imagine being dataless and watching your son die, doing the exact thing you told him not to do. He flew to the sun. I'm cultured. In unrelated news, I have a headache. I I think you might want to read a little bit more about Icarus. There's a twist ending to that one. I'm holding a knife, Kishan. No spoilers. Ah! Ah, no spoilers. Promise. Alright, Shay, just say hi. Try not to get a knife slung at you this time. You got this. Hey, kids! Ah! Intruder! Kishan? My buddy? My pal? Did I get him? No. You missed. Darn it. But... Wait. Wait, you threw it on purpose? Extremely on purpose, yes. I'm fine, by the way. Oh, it's just you. Would it have been worse if it was someone else? Probably? Unless they were an actual spy come to steal my robot designs. You never know who might be watching. Then it would have been good. Hi, Gem. Gem says, according to Cambridge, schlock means goods or artistic work that are cheap or low in quality. Oh, dang. Hey, I think I'm crashing. Oh, no. Is she okay? Did I kill her? She'll wake up in about 15 minutes with no ill effects. But you probably shouldn't give her any more coffee. She turns into a real goblin. Not to be confused with the days when she's just a regular gremlin. Oh. She told me that it'd make her immeasurably powerful. I mean, she's not wrong. But, you know, great power, great responsibility, yada yada yada. A glub glub. Okay, thank you, Jem. I'm gonna finish my chai. She's 13. Kid's got plenty of energy already. Maybe not the sense of responsibility, though. Yeah, I don't even know how I ended up sitting here attaching knives to robots. She's very convincing? Ashley's persuasiveness is a mystery. It clearly can't be logic, eloquence, or charisma that causes people to do her bidding. You don't have to tell me, mate. She basically lives here. Her parents would kill me if they found out she'd nearly killed me. Pretty good blind throw, though. Hey, Friday! Happy Wednesday, Friday! She makes me proud in the weirdest ways. Huh. Did she learn from the best? She did. But the best definitely wasn't me. Maddie's pretty deadly with knives. Loves her flashy tricks. Bad habit, probably. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being very rude. My name's Che. I used to own this place. Now I just sort of sit around and cause trouble and sometimes have knives thrown at me, I guess. I'm Kishan. And I died today. Ooh. Ah! I'm alive. I'm alive? Oof, we got a loud one here. Be nice. You know it's scary waking up. Big lights coming towards me. I think it's reliving his last moments. Looks like it. What is happening? Hello. I do not remember having this many limbs. Are they... Is Ashley putting the dead people's spirits into robots? Are they doing the Hat Kid dance? Oh, from, A Hat in Time? Join the club, pal. We are reborn in a new image. I see. I'm Kepler, nice to meet ya. And I'm Jacoby. I am... undefined? I don't know if that name will stick. Its body is made of a milk carton. Should we just call it Milk? No, too basic. Imagine if you called me Goon just because I'm made of a goon box. I wouldn't like that at all. Ashley was yelling about someone called Lovelace the other day. That's a good one, I think. Ada Lovelace? Ada? How does our new friend feel about it? Acceptable? Excellent. Nice to meet you, Lovelace. I'm confused about these robotic implications. Did they used to be people? Look at you, turning into a responsible human being. Was the tree talking to me? Yeah, I think so. I think so, Scott. During intermissions at the end of episodes, you can freely explore the terminal. Memories are scattered throughout the terminal that delve into the tales of its patrons. More locations and memories become available as you progress through the main story. Oh, so there's a memory here. Chase sat in the corner of the cafe with a book in his lap. His eyes danced over the page for several moments, the words on the page illuminated by the candle that sat perched on the armrest of his chair. Then, after several moments passed, he turned the page. He hadn't actually internalized any of the text on the page, nor had he taken in any of the text on the 50 preceding pages. He was vaguely aware of the fact that the book kept on referring to a man named Henry, who Che presumed was the protagonist of the book he had held in his lap, but beyond that knew little to nothing. Che didn't particularly mind this fact. In fact, if he had started following the story that was told on the pages of this book, he would have considered it a great failure. Che enjoyed staying down with the book, and he enjoyed the platonic ideal of reading. But when it came to telling stories, he found books to be a poor substitute for a person sitting next to him. He didn't pick up books when he wanted to be told a story. He picked up books when he wanted to be alone, to situate in a comfy chair and bask in the candlelight and sit silently in a meditative state. He turned another page. "Hey," said a familiar voice, interrupting him. "I'm in the middle of a book, Ned," said Che, "if you hadn't noticed." That was the book's secondary function. It deterred people who might see a man sitting alone and seize upon the opportunity to start a conversation when he was not in the mood for conversation. "Is it a good book?" asked Ned. "I was enjoying being alone with it," said Che. "Yeah, you looked really engrossed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've got a favor to ask." "Why is it always to ask a favor?" said Che, looking past Ned and speaking to no one in particular, even though there was no one but Ned near enough to hear him speak. "Why is never, 'Hey Che, I just wanted to stop by to offer you a favor'?" "I did that one time," said Ned. "You said you were busy, which I figured was your way of politely saying, 'Please don't bother me with this kind of visit,' so I stopped." "Did you? I don't remember it." "I'm sure you do remember it," said Ned. "It was from back before you started forgetting things. Sometime around... When did that war start?" "You're gonna have to be a lot more specific," said Che. "You know, the war with the soldiers and the guns." "Ah, that war," said Che. "Well, I did narrow it down a bit, didn't I?" "I'm not that old," said Che. "Wars were fought with guns even when I was a young man. Same for you." "Did they? Well, it was the war with the, Ned trailed off. He raised a hand to his face and flicked his helmet, mimicking the unmistakable ping of an M1 Garand? "World War II? Which one was that?" The one with the Nazis," said Che. "Yeah, that sounds about right," said Ned. "Anyway, I came to ask a favor." "I hope that favor was spend a few minutes of your time having an inane conversation, but we already did that," said Che. "My, but you're snippy today," said Ned. "What's gone into you?" Che held up the book. "A good book is what's gone into me." "Sorry," said Ned. "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. I'm in need of an interpreter. You speak Cantonese, right?" Yes, said Che. Great, said Ned. Can I steal you for a few hours? Not if it's to be an interpreter, said Che. Why not? You speak Cantonese and you seem fluent enough in English, so why would you specifically say no to translating? Being an interpreter is not as simple as being bilingual, Ned. Isn't it? I figured you hear things in one language and say them in another. It seems simple to me. Are you literate? Said Che. A bit. Can you write a work of great literature? Said Che. Nope, said Ned. Well, there you go. There's more to translating than being bilingual. Oh, come on. I'm in a pinch. I'm not asking you to be a great interpreter, just an adequate one. There's lots of bilingual people around. I'm sure you know other places to ask. Yeah, but I know you're not the kind of person who would spill secrets. That's the kind of conversation that I just want to be between me and the other person, Great. Sounds like you need a professional interpreter. I hear they're great at facilitating those kinds of interactions. Come on. What can a professional interpreter do that you can't? A lot of things. But for one, a professional interpreter is someone you can count on to allow you to use their mouth to say incredibly stupid things without letting you or the counterparty know just how stupid they find the interaction. Funny that. I always figured that's the kind of thing you'd be good at. Because I'm so good at holding my tongue? Yes? I've tried before, said Che, kicking up his feet. Being an interpreter pays well if you find yourself working for the right people, and it leaves your hands a lot less callous than some of the work I found myself doing instead. But you'll notice my hands have calluses. Turns out holding your tongue is oftentimes harder than digging holes. Come on, you know how to be a diplomat, said Ned. Bugger off, said Che. There, that was me being undiplomatic. Now, would you kindly find another solution to your problem? One that doesn't involve me performing a task that I've told you at least twice now I'm not gonna do. Ned started to say something, but stopped just short of making an utterance and backed off. Hey, Maddie, Ned shouted. No, Maddie replied. I haven't even asked you for anything yet. I know, I thought I would save you the time. Ned sighed. What's with you people? Maddie turned towards Ned and glowered at him. You people? Ned raised his hands defensively. I didn't mean... Look, I just mean that you two, you're, birds of a feather, in quite a few ways. Maddie stared at him and Ned contemplated whether there was any way for him to make a statement, grouping Maddie and Che together, without making himself look worse than he already did. I was more a shapeshift, you got it. 1 second. There we go. Good afternoon, Westmore. He sighed in frustration. You know what your problem is? Yes, said Maddie. I know him quite well, and he is standing right in front of me. Oh, I think that's the whole memory. Oh, Ashley's journal. Ooh. I like this track. Row Battle Royale Robots Power Rankings. Windlass. When I first saw the name of the spot, I thought it was styled to be like a girl who could run control storms and run like a ninja, a real lass of the wind. Or maybe a girl of the elements, someone with the ability to become the wind itself. If I were a windlass, I could vanish in an instant whenever Maddie appeared. She would look around and say, "Where's Ashley?" And I would be right there, but she wouldn't notice it because I would be one with the wind. Then when she left, I would fade back into the room like a ninja. This would only work outside and in the rooms that were already breezy, so I could probably set up fans in the workshop to make it really drafty. Then I looked it up online and learned that windlass is actually a fancy name for a winch that they use to pull anchors up, which at first made me think this bot was kind of lame. It works by hooking its arm under the enemy bots and pulling it up to flip them over. It never even tries to smash the other bot to bits or melt it with fire. But then I watched it in action and I realized that flipping your enemy on their back to incapacitate them is the ultimate ninja move. Windlass moves like a master, spending the entire match trying to bait its opponents into exposing its weakness. And then like a ninja master that knows how to jab at exactly the right pressure point on the back of the neck to make her enemy's head explode. I don't know if that's a thing. Windlass grabs the enemy bot by the one part of it that happens to be sticking out at the wrong time and flips it onto its back. Note, most bots only have wheels or legs on the bottom, not on the top, so when you flip them over, they're totally helpless and the match is over. To avoid this happening, make sure you put wheels on the top as well. When I make a bot like Windlass, I'm going to call it badass because that's what it is. Quite the memory. Oh. Looks very, like dystopian or like post-apocalyptic out there. Doesn't it? Very like mechanical and then kind of like getting reclaimed by nature. That tree is so cool. Can we go upstairs? Oh. No! Why are you closed? Why? Tell us why. Continue. Ah, wait, we have one more here. Crucible product reviews. Spirit-resistant quartz crucibles with self-sealing lids. Product description. Heat-resistant up to 1,650 degrees Celsius. Self-sealing lids form airtight seals around the crucible's ground rim. Highly resistant to corruption and spiritual interference. Clear inner and outer covering allow for easy spotting of cracks or imperfections. Quality suitable for mixing potions and filters. Average rating 3.5 stars out of 5. Product reviews. 5 out of 5. I love this. The covering, despite being quartz, has a textured appearance that gives it a silky smooth feel to it. Most crucibles feel sterile and cold, but this one makes for a perfect beverage container when entertaining guests. 4 out of 5. The previous crucible set I used was inherited from my grandmother, who brought them over from New England. Unfortunately, 2 months at sea were not kind to her spiritware, and her crucibles were filled with tiny cracks and microfractures that allowed unsightly-looking soot to build up, leaving them stained with hard gray lines everywhere, looking like they were about to crack apart at any moment. She used them for several decades to come, but every time I worked with her and watched them heat up, I was afraid that they were constantly on the verge of shattering. One she used to contain a lost wayward spirit for several days before finding a home for it, and I would get up at night to check the embers under the crucible, and it always unsettled me seeing how fragile the container was. Several times I found myself tempted to tip the crucible over, just to see how easily it would shatter under my soft touch. Needless to say, this new set is much nicer. They're sterile and I can keep several of them in my bedroom without feeling unsettled by their presence. 2 of the crucibles in my set arrived with small chips in them, but I contacted the manufacturer, and they replaced them at no charge. The replacements were express shipped, and the process was quick and painless, so great customer service, and they offer replacements up to 1 year. For the price, they can't be beat. 4 out of 5. Owned mine for 2 weeks, and it didn't crack. Decent for the price. 5 out of 5. Received mine in the mail this morning. I can't wait to try it out. So glad to finally have found someone selling crucibles at a reasonable price. A brand name one costs over $200, which is just outrageous. 1 out of 5. I bought this several weeks ago since it was the cheapest crucible on the site advertised as spirit resistant. I'm working on a filter for my graduate thesis and purchased 100 of these for lab use. My plan was to monitor 100 different animal spirits over with different types of plant matter and compare how different biomaterials affected their vigor over a 90-day period. The first day I set the first 5 with samples of mugwort, feverfew, ginger, ginseng, and golden seal. I placed them in the crucibles over low heat, 80 degrees Celsius, and left them overnight, and over the next 2 days did the same with all the other remaining crucibles, finishing on a Friday and leaving the lab alone for the weekend. When I arrived back on Monday, I knew that something was wrong, when I noticed a rain cloud hovering over the door. It's not uncommon for rain clouds to appear at any time of year at any time of day in our part of the country, but it's quite another to find a rain cloud localized entirely within the hallway of your research lab. I braced for the worst, but I guess I should have braced harder. Nothing could have prepared me for the smell when I opened the door. I immediately felt my eyes watering and actually found myself choking, it smelled so bad. I slammed the door shut and went to the basement to grab one of the emergency respirators we keep down there. Unfortunately, the respirator did little to mask the terrible stench inside of the lab. I opened the first crucible and saw that it was filled with a tar-like substance, and as I studied its inky black writhing form, I felt the air sucked out of me, almost like it was trying to drag me into the abyss with it. Ah, Alcidian, thank you for the resub! Thank you for the 45 months, thank you! I hope you're having a good day! Jem said maybe the business can be a successful necro cafe because actually everyone is dead. Ooh, yeah, if it's post-apocalyptic? Maybe. I threw the crucible onto the floor, and the container shattered, splattering the floor with tar-like substance, which began slowly crawling across the room. Almost 3 years, wait a minute. No, almost 4, right? Because 3 years would be 36 months. And then 4 years would be 48. So it's almost been 4 years. Holy moly. Time flies when you're an anime girl on the internet. Getting too old to count? I know what you mean. I'm bad at keeping track too. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall, and I sprayed the tar until it was completely covered, and heard what sounded like a sputtering noise, followed by a long gasp and a scream that faded into oblivion. After poking at the fire extinguisher spray, whatever was underneath was clearly quenched. I took the remaining crucibles and placed them in the oven, and baked them at a temperature of 1600 degrees for several hours as I sat alone in the lab, contemplating the cruelty of existence, and wondering what my academic advisor would have to say about my thesis project. After several hours of waiting, I opened the oven and checked the contents of the crucibles, revealing nothing but ash. Whatever it was that had been drawn by the spiritual emissions of my lab work, it was gone from my world, but the memory of that day will haunt me for all of the remaining days of my life. 1 out of 5. Do not buy this crucible for spirit-related applications. My wife is one of the product designers who worked on this item. The crucibles in this listing came from a manufacturer called Mars Security LLC. Back in 2013, they were some of the best hardware you could get for your money and earned a reputation among hobbyists as great value for anyone working on a budget. But in 2016, they did a survey and found that fewer than 3% of buyers were actually using the crucibles for spirit-related applications, and decided they could cut costs by removing the spirit-resistant properties. However, they found that products advertised with updated ad copy to reflect this didn't sell as well, so they continued using the old product description, which advertises it as spirit-resistant, with a new product line which is not spirit-resistant. I don't know how they're getting away with this. Apparently the definitions of what is actually spirit-resistant are legally murky, and the number of people affected is small enough that they continue to sell well. Stay far, far away from this one, and warn anyone you know of who might buy an item like this that it does not work as advertised. Nice color! Whew. This game has lots of reading. Continue. I wonder if this game auto-saves on the loading screen. Man, I'd love to see that. I could use a pick-me-up. I can't promise it'll be there. It's kind of inconsistent. Still though, a hallway that's only there sometimes? How do you get to the kitchen otherwise? There's another slightly longer one that we use instead. It's much less exciting, but on the upside it's consistently there. I love telling new people about it though. The reaction's always hilarious. I definitely didn't expect to be getting enthusiastic today over a weird quantum hallway. When people start getting nervous about magic, they usually start trying to explain it using science terms to reassure themselves. Or enthusiastic at all, actually, because as soon as I stop to think about it, I realize I'm actually extremely messed up about this. I understand. Your life has gone very weird very fast, conceptually speaking. Or, your unlife? I should be better talking about this by now, shouldn't I? Geez, that's not a fun one to think about, huh? Just keep talking about the hallway so I can keep my mind off this. To be honest, I'm not sure I could even properly explain a lot of what goes on in here. The building's mildly sentient. Too much magic in the soil for it to not be, really. So, the cafe is alive? Not necessarily. Plenty of things have come to life here, but as far as we can tell, the building itself doesn't really fall into that category. Also, it mostly tends to shift itself in ways that are helpful instead of frustrating, so... Quantum hallways. I'm making myself a cuppa. Australian vernacular for a cup of tea, an important cultural institution, especially when drunk in the afternoon. We're becoming cultured. You want something? Nah, I'm good for now. Also, what's the barista's name? I didn't actually catch it and I feel like a jerk. Oh, Maddie. She's the owner now. Not just the barista. She still makes coffee, of course. Cuppa's a British word too? I thought I had heard it before. I feel like I've heard Pixie or someone say it. Since she's the owner now, she has a lot more to juggle. Why are you asking? Got your eye on her, eh? No, I have a boyfriend. Had? Oh geez, this is a lot. I can't imagine how he's feeling. Try not to think about it. Okay. Yep. Okay. You want that drink now? I think I want something a little more potent than coffee right now, sorry. Don't enable him, Kashan. Shush. I can get you something stronger, mate. Shot of whiskey, perhaps? A neat bourbon will always be the perfect mix of classy yet unpretentious. I thought this was a cafe. Well, it is. Mostly. We do serve alcohol, though. And stronger things on request. Stronger? Like what? Baijiu? Absinthe? Pure ethanol? You think a place like this wouldn't have anything stronger than that? Stronger than pure ethanol? Sure. Remind me later and I might pull out some of my special reserve. Don't enable him, Kashan. Hey, someone's gotta drink it. I know you're not gonna touch the stuff aside from setting it on fire. Excuse me, I have perfectly good reason for wanting to set a puddle of distilled soul on fire. We'll agree to disagree on that one. So, Kashan, what'll it be? Actually, I changed my mind on the coffee. Can I order something complex? Gotta treat myself on my last day on Earth. I'm after a sugar rush. If we have the ingredients, it shouldn't be an issue. Maddie can whip it up for you. Cool, cool. JD said Fangy thought my streak would break because I'm in Japan, but here I am at 3 a.m. Are you intentionally up at 3 a.m. or is this an accident? Why is my Fangy died off center? Why? One moment, let me fix this. Stuff getting off centered on me. There we go, that's better. Now, are you trying to be up at 3 a.m. or is it more jet lag? In that case, can I have a large quadruple shot, double vanilla caramel, no foam, super hot, reverse coconut milk macchiato? Oh boy, do I have to actually remember this? Coconut milk macchiato, double vanilla caramel, large quadruple shot. Oh my god. With 2 sugars and whipped cream on top? Maddie? Yes, dearest? Can you, I don't quite know how... Is this real? Oh, is it too much? I was gonna ask for that shot of whiskey Shay mentioned earlier, but it seemed a little extra. Well, yes, it is too much. I don't think even Starbucks would serve that. Why? Because it's a messed up order, man. Dang. Every single word of that increased my urge to set the espresso machine on fire, so I wouldn't have to think about making coffee ever again. Maddie still has all the classic symptoms of being a pyromaniac, but she's definitely not a pyromaniac. Oh, JD can't hear me. Ah. I'll put in chat. Get sleep, JD. Oh, but the whiskey's fine. I can do that too. I have a counter offer, which you have to accept. Yeah? I'll make you another double shot long black, and I'll put whiskey in it. But I won't call you a hipster this time. If you decline my offer, on God, I will strip your soul from your body and use it to scrub the counters at closing time. They will smell delicious afterwards. If that's any consolation. Yikes. That does sound like a competitive counteroffer. Not the soul thing. I'll take the coffee. My generosity knows no bounds. Normie. Bum, 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 bum. So, to conclude, that order sucked because it defies the laws of physics, has a heart attack's worth of sugar in it, and is something only Can I say that word? It is something only wankers ask for. Is it possible to die twice? Yep. You can die twice if you're brought back from the dead. No, it's a bad one, don't say that one. Oh no. Kitty, you didn't stop me fast enough, no! No! It's too late! It's too late! Oopsie. Okay, now I know. Okay. If you manage to really annoy someone between here and the next place, which is more likely because resurrection is illegal. Resurrection is reserved for emergencies, and the Council has very particular definitions about what constitutes an emergency. Many centuries pass without a single qualified emergency. In Australia, they say that all the time to each other. Yeah, I think in Australia they like cuss words a lot. And a lot of those words, if you say them in the US, people get very upset. But if you're asking about whether you can get a heart attack or whatever, the answer's no. Life and death have a slightly different meaning here. You can't die from natural causes. It's a bit complex and weird, and we're still in the process of figuring out how it all works. I'm over 200 years old, and I still haven't made proper sense of it yet. Just got some vague ideas. Right. So what's keeping me from just staying here? Like, I'm already dead. Why do I have to go to the next place? You've got a certain number of hours where you're allowed to remain on the edge of the mortal realm. Hours are fungible? Fungible. They can be bought, sold, and exchanged, generally speaking. But the Council of Death always collects on debts owed to them, and you'll start running up a debt if you stay here too long. Your soul starts to get itchy too. Is there any feeling less pleasant than an itch that you can't scratch? Well, probably, but it's still up there. It's not something you want to experience. We've had a few stay past there a lot of time, and they've gotten very uncomfortable very fast. It starts with general irritability, and then worse things begin to happen. It's a weird thing to wrap your head around. How long do I have before I need to make myself scarce? You get 24 hours. Any longer, and we start to pick up the tab since you're on our premises. The terminal is a place where borrowed time has a very literal meaning. And as charming as you are, we've already racked up too much time debt from letting people stick around past their expiration date. We're deep enough in the hole as it is hours-wise. And cash-wise. We're extremely poor. We've been a bit too lenient in the past, letting people stay just a little longer instead of gently shooing them onto the next plane of existence, etc. And cash-wise. We're extremely poor. Oh, wait, I accidentally rewinded. You know the drill, but hey, since hours are fungible, you can always acquire them some other way. There's something happening tonight, actually, that you might be interested in. Seriously? You're still doing that? Shush. You know the council doesn't look on that stuff favorably. Ned said so himself. It draws customers and it helps us shave down the debt. I'll take whatever I can get. And hey, screw Ned. We have a 13-year-old right here, you know. Ah. She's heard enough coarse language for a lifetime. I'm not too worried about her. She's right, though. What? Every time Ned comes around, he makes you guys really stressed out. Ash is at that age where she's learned to recognize when other people are stressed, but not experienced enough to fully understand what it feels like. Hey, well, okay, I guess you can count it, but I don't know about that one so much. Maybe not you so much, but Maddie gets nervous and it brings down the mood, man. So screw Ned. Goodness, I think you've had too much coffee today. I am crashing so hard right now, you have no idea. It's like I was crashing earlier, but that was just like a pre-crash, and I'm having a double crash or something. All I ask is that you try and keep the swearing to a minimum when customers are around. Okay. Does Kishan count? It's fine. A couple of my housemates are tradies, so you learn to ignore it pretty quick. Housemates, a great way to save money on rent and never get lonely, if you're not attached to the whole idea of personal space. Are tradies? Were tradies? Ugh. They're still tradies unless they changed careers in the last couple days. But they're not my roommates anymore. Because... Hey mates, have I mentioned how much being dead sucks? Tradies or blue-collar workers? That's what I was thinking. People that practice a trade. That's what I would have guessed. Thank you for the confirmation, Jen. Being dead sucks, and I feel extremely bad about it. Having a pretty bad time right now in general, to be honest. Yep. Even just adapting your language is a pain, isn't it? Want a proper drink now? Without coffee in it? Yeah, that'd be good. The TV didn't say anything about there being a storm tonight. I know it looks like it's Melbourne, but I think I've heard people say that it's pronounced like Melbourne? I'm not sure. Melbourne storm. A somewhat unusual weather phenomena, known for being the only one of its kind to occur below the Barassi line. Huh. It looks like a decent-sized one's rolling in. Melbourne weather strikes again. I'll go upstairs and close the windows. Cheers. Come on, Ashley. Let's clean up your workbench while we're up there, yeah? Do you need a bribe? Yes. I have some chocolate hidden away. Acceptable. I want chocolate. Wait. Dead people can still get drunk, yeah? Well, why else do you think we serve alcohol? To make money? Well, yeah. Hang on. Do I even have my wallet? Doubt it. I don't, yeah. How does that work? Why do I have my clothes, but not the contents of my pockets? Pockets are a good place for things that don't have a place. Chewing gum, spare change, and nervous hands. I don't know, dude. Everyone's experience is different. Death doesn't follow many rules. Only universal rule I can think of is that you can't stay. People don't generally come in without their clothes, fortunately. So about this drink. I guess you're not gonna give me straight vodka or something? Why is that? You don't like making complex drinks. Dude, no. I don't like making ridiculous caffeine-laced milkshakes for overcompensating soccer dads. But I like sugar-laced, over-caffeinated drinks. I'm happy to mix a cocktail within reason. Oh, okay. What have you got then? Che's got everything you can think of. And then some. I could go for a mint julep. Hey, what's that outside? Outside? Some guy out in the rain? Oh, shoot. Maddie? Maddie, what's up? Let's get started on that drink. That must be Ned. Is that his head or his hair? Morning. Hi? Hello, recently departed. Hey, that hat you're wearing kind of makes you look like Ned Kelly? I could have sworn you were standing outside literally a second ago. So how'd this one cark it? Cark? What is that? Cark it. Meaning. Ah. It means to die. Alright. How'd this one die? Thank you, kitty! Good morning to you too, Ned. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, Madeline. Screw off, Nedward. That's not even my full name. Isn't it, Maddie? Chase said it was, and he never lies. He never said that. Well, no, but it was worth a try. A try at what? Catching me off balance? Something along those lines? Mate, I'm so off balance right now that a light breeze would knock me head over bum. Don't push me. Hey, this mint julep sure is great. Just wanted to contribute that to the conversation. So, you catch the game last night? The Australian Football League provides everyone with a chance to root for your favorite local team. Unless you're a Tasmanian. Aussies and Brits share a lot of slang, it seems. It does seem like that, doesn't it? I wonder why. Because they're pretty far apart, like, distance-wise. No. And I don't care to discuss the egg sport with you or anyone else. Don't try it. Oof. Just making polite conversation. You should try it sometime. Maybe. Not for you, though. You've never come in during daylight hours before. What do you want? Nothing much. I'd like to talk to Che at some point, but it can wait, seeing as he's missing. Planning on sending out a search party? Might do. It'd be a shame to lose an old friend by letting him wander onto some train tracks or something. Yeah, well, shut up. He's upstairs last I saw. What was the last you saw, Maddie? Tell me. Why are you like this? What was it? Last saw him walking upstairs. So he could be anywhere then. Probably fled the country to dodge the massive time debt you lot are racking up. Some obligations have a way of following you, no matter where you run to. He can't go far. I've got him on a pretty tight leash. In regards to the debt, it's not your problem. You must not have heard. Not your problem. Che! Your jerkhead friend Nut is here. Oi. I'm a distinguished gent. Not a jerkhead. I'll be down in a sec. Yeah, sure, but you also work for the Council of Death. So even if you are a distinguished gent, it cancels out. Is the Council of Death like a normal city council? Except for wherever dead people live? Yeah, but the only trash that needs to be collected is right in front of me. This guy? Me? No, you. You're the trash, Ned. The trash is you. It's you, Ned the Trash Man from hell. Because councils pick up trash. That's the joke. Oh, cool. He's even got a head shaped like a rubbish bin. It's totally fitting. I'm not from hell. I don't care. And to be clear, Ned, in case we weren't already, you are the trash. Yeah, I get it. You know how long Che's going to be? Dunno. He was busy upstairs with Ashley. Yeah, I had to hide like 5 steak knives from her. I didn't even know he had 5 steak knives. Bit quiet there, mate. How long have you been sitting there? Does it matter? Well, your employee's being very rude to me. So if you'd heard any of that... I keep trying to tell him. Ah, my employee. Yes. We have some catching up to do. I don't follow. Did she quit? Maddie's not one to back away from a challenge, but if she did, she wouldn't be the first. Did you fire her for gross incompetence? Far from it. There's been a bit of a shake-up in the cafe's management structure since you last visited. Oh no. Don't tell me you gave her the whole thing. Okay, I won't tell you. I tried to tell you before, man. Hey, does anyone else like mint juleps? This is me. This is me whenever any of my friends are like fighting with each other. And I'm just like trying to change the subject and it doesn't work. Because this is great and I'm nearly done, but also my tongue is numb. And I'm wondering, what's the deal with that? Was there something you wanted to discuss? I need a drink before we go through all that. Sure. The usual? Yes, please. How come he gets a curly straw? So, Che, spin me a tale of how and why you handed down the cafe to this person. Well, every man's got his price. Can my price be a curly straw too? Buddy, I'll give you 2 if it means you'll stop complaining about numb lips. Yeah, what did you make this with? I couldn't find half the ingredients, so I put a bunch of baijiu and, chili seeds? It's got some of the stuff though, so it's a mint julep in spirit if nothing else. Does this have any mint or julep in it? At all? It definitely may be lacking mint, and I cannot confirm nor deny the existence of the mythical julep. To some people, this place seems otherworldly. For others, this is just the world they live in. You asked for baijiu earlier, though, so there you go, mission complete. Maddie, I'm getting very drunk very fast. Baijiu will do that to ya. Here, I think you should have a little lie down. I'll get you some water. I'm as strong as an ox. I don't need no lie down. Kishan, my dude, you absolutely need to get horizontal as soon as possible. You can sober up in one of the booths up the back. It's nice and quiet over there. I'll fight ya. I'll win, though. Up you get, mate. Bloody hell. It would have been helpful if you told me about this before. Probably. I'm not worried about it. Maddie knew what she was getting into with this whole cafe situation. And it's natural that it might take a while for her to get the hang of running a business. Bloody hell. Bit of a dog's dinner, though, isn't it? Ned would know. Oh, for sure. But it'll get better. Like I said, not worried about it. Well, you might want to hold your judgment on that for the moment. I am unfortunately here on official business. Oh. I shouldn't have given you the straw then. No, you shouldn't have. I look quite silly. Do you want me to get rid of it? It's just Maddie. She won't use it to derail our conversation or make me look like a fool or anything like that. Straw? No, I'll get you one after you have a nap. You can sip the water like a normal person. I'll put it with the dirty dishes then. It's kind of like a music note or something. Whee! The sacrifices I make for this job. Hey, you met me through it, so it can't have been all bad. That was bloody 100 years ago. Man, really? Longer. Time flies when you're immortal, huh? Hi, Fox. Hello. Quasi-immortal. This old rust bucket's still got an expiration date somewhere down the line. Time comes for us all. What's this about immortality? Hey, you should buy more plants. Shut up. Sorry, continue. Immortality? Nothing that I'd trust you with, that's for sure. Don't you want to see crotchety old me being rude to youngsters in 100 years? Truly, I do not. The far future doesn't need amateur necromancers. Amateur can describe someone who's not good enough to turn pro, but could also mean someone who passionately engages in something just for the pure love of it. Your loss. So, you two heading upstairs? Actually, Ned does in fact have something fairly important to discuss with you. Oh? It's about the debt you owe. To the council. Yeah, I know. What about it?
He's wearing shorts?
Maddie, it's time. You owe us over 600 hours. Chase signed a contract. The hours or the cafe. You own the cafe, so you own the debt. And tonight, I've come to collect.
I gave it all away, and now has come the day.
What does it mean?
Left to give. I waited here so long, I listened for your song, and fell right through what you said. There's nothing left to give. Nothing left to give. There's nothing left to give.
Who dat? Who are all these people? There's Kashan. Necrobarista. Oh, title drop. So I guess all of that was just the intro still. Yeah, that was like a cool anime opening. It was. I've said it before, but I'm always like tickled when like indie games have like songs at the beginning of them with like lyrics and stuff, like vocals. That was kind of intense. Do they do that often? The song and dance thing? Yeah, what do they think they are? Some kind of anime street gang? Speaking of anime, what sort of self-obsessed jerk has their own theme song? Don't be a downer, pal. No, I was talking about the dramatic encounter. Oh, between Maddie and Ned. Yes. Yeah, they've got chemistry. Not the romantic kind, the explosive kind. Can't leave them in the same room together or they'll kill each other. Bad history? Maddie's just a serially troublesome person, from Ned's perspective. Doesn't help that she can't stop herself from pulling pranks on him. No, I suppose not. I mean, it doesn't make it easy either. I don't think he's used to having his authority questioned. She really gets under his skin. Wasn't he a famous criminal? And therein lies the irony of the situation. What a strange world we live in. This shouldn't be a depressing memory for any of us. Doodle mode is now available. You can now speak to Ashley to access doodle mode. Doodle mode. We're on the second floor now. Yay. Tree. Clocks. Not clocks. Pressure? Maybe? We have billiard. Billiard. Brad took a sip from his beer. It was non-alcoholic, but there was something about the dry aftertaste that kept him frosty. He leaned over the table and lined up his next shot. He eyed the problematic 9 ball in the upper right corner. He had a low percentage shot on it if he elected to bank it in, but he had 2 other stripes in the lower left to set it up. If he had an audience, he'd go for the bank shot for sure. He liked the chance to shine. But today there was no one to impress. No audience for flashy low percentage shots. He took the shots on the 11 and 12, and 3 shots later sunk the 9. An easy shot on the 8 sealed the deal. Brad scanned the table. 4 solid balls remained, a dismal performance on his part. Or a stellar performance on the part of the Stripes player. That was the problem with playing against yourself. You always won, but you always lost too. Brad chugged the remainder of his beer and added it to his collection of empties, which now stood 5 bottles strong. He took a moment to survey the room. His table was the only one of the 4 that was in use. That didn't come as any surprise to him. It was early in the evening, and he'd grown accustomed to spending time alone in this room. He knew when he could come here to be alone, and when the other sharks showed up. Brad grabbed the triangle. It was looped around his collection of beer bottles to set the balls in order for another round. Someone came up the stairs, and Brad looked up briefly, long enough to see a woman that he recognized as the dour-faced barkeep who had served him the beers that kept him company for the past hour or 2. Several steps behind the woman, he saw an older-looking man. The man stopped in front of the table opposite Brad's and began chalking up his cue. Brad directed his attention to the man. He usually offered people a game when they came up, but the man seemed prepared to keep to himself, so Brad said nothing and tried to focus on his own table. He set up the break, and the older man coughed as he shot. He hit the cue ball just a fraction of a degree off. It bounced off the rack into one of the side pockets, as the rest of the balls jostled around the table. Stink. Brad didn't swear when playing pool. His earliest experiences with competitive billiards had been in an environment that forbade obscenities and issued foul penalties every time he let out an involuntary curse word. He'd had to find cleaner substitutes. Break came the sound from the old man's table. 2, 3, 4. Brad put down his break cue and picked up the leather-tipped cue that was leaning against the table. 5, 6. Brad chalked his cue, trying to avoid the tilt from his bad break. 7, 8. He lined up to shoot and realized that the man was already fishing his balls out of the pockets and collecting them in the triangle. Brad did a double take. Had the man sunk the 8 ball after 8 strokes, including break? Brad continued playing his own table, but kept an eye on the older man this time. It happened again. Break. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A perfect clean sweep. As the old man began clearing the table, Brad walked over. "Excuse me," he said, "but I couldn't help but notice you just hit 2 perfect games." "What's that?" The man turned to Brad, squinting at him. Brad repeated himself a bit louder this time. "I was just complimenting you on 2 perfect games. Impressive stuff." The man heaved his shoulders. "Sometimes you get a bit of luck on your side." "Still," said Brad, "you don't see novices hitting 2 consecutive perfect games." The man offered another ineffectual shrug. "Do you, want to play a game?" Brad gestured to his own table, which was already set up. "Most of the people who come around here tend to be novices. I've been itching for a bit of competition." Brad paused, but the man said nothing. "Of course, if you'd prefer to play your own table, I don't mean to intrude." "We can play," said the man. "Though, if I can shoot a perfect 3rd time, you won't get to." "I'd be impressed if you could pull that off," said Brad. The older man racked the balls and stepped away from the table to let Brad break. Brad leaned over the table and took several practice strokes before finally connecting with the cue ball. The break was weaker than he expected, but he managed to sink 1 ball. He looked at the table annoyed and realized that he hadn't bothered to check if the rack was frozen before he broke. Frozen? What does that mean? Also, hey Banana! Yes, a new game we're playing, Necrobarista. It's a coffee shop for dead people. And some living people. His next shot was a straight into the middle pocket. He briefly visualized the trajectory of the cue ball in his mind. It would easily knock the 6th ball in, then bounce towards the front of the table. Brad wasn't confident of where exactly the ball would stop, but he was confident that he'd be able to do something with it. He took the shot and the 6th ball went in. Solids. I've always wondered, are mathematicians really good at billiards? Because it's like trigonometry, right? I think. It's all like angles and stuff. Also, hey Gord! After the cue ball settled, he found himself with no good options. Brad smiled. Making something out of nothing was his specialty, and after a few moments of eyeing different angles, he settled on a shot towards one of the bottom pockets. A striped ball was in the way, so Brad hit the cue ball several degrees to the side, curving its trajectory around the enemy ball. It hit the solid 3 ball, and the shot was made. Brad looked at the man, hoping for some kind of reaction. The man's mouth remained a flat line, but his eyebrows arched. If anything, the man's lack of an obvious expression struck him as a deliberate attempt to not show a response. That he had managed to get a slight rise out of the old man felt like a sweet victory. Brad made his next shot quickly, an easy straight-in shot for the 2 ball made without thinking about where the cue ball would land. That was a problem for future Brad. But several seconds later, President Brad found himself scolding past Brad for putting him in such a foul position. He was corner-hooked. With the cue ball trapped next to the corner pocket, the only angles available to Brad existed in a 60-degree arc. He surveyed his limited options and breathed a sigh of relief as a relatively straightforward bank shot presented itself. It was an awkward angle, but he knew he could coax the 3 balls into the opposite corner pocket. He took the shot, watching as the 3 ball rolled compliantly into its designated pocket. Unfortunately, the cue ball went with it, ending Brad's turn and placing the ball in the man's possession. Ah, stink. Brad could have sworn the man winked at him as he fished the cue ball out and lined up a simple shot on the side pocket. The 9 went in, then the 11 and the 12. Brad found himself taking it for granted that each striped ball would enter its designated pocket, and instead focused on the cue ball. Somehow the cue ball always wound up in a position that presented the oldster with the ideal chip shot. Ball after ball fell off the bed, until finally only the black 8 ball and Brad's solids remained. Fortunately for Brad, the 8 ball and the cue ball were at opposite sides of the table, with several of Brad's in between. The man eventually gave up and settled for a defensive shot that put the cue ball behind the 8. Now the tables were turned. Brad was the one cut off from his balls. He lived for shots like this. He took the shot. The cue ball hit the 8, and the 8 hit the 1, and the 1 hit the 7, bouncing against the front of the pocket and into one of the side pockets. At the front of the table. Brad couldn't help but smile. Things couldn't have gone better even if he'd planned them. Instinct and muscle memory did what his calculating mind couldn't. Now that the table was conveniently free of striped balls, Brad had no trouble sinking the remaining consecutive shots he needed to close out the game. As Brad lined up the final shot on the 8 ball, he studied the older guy. The man was reacting. If the man was reacting, he couldn't tell. Brad closed his eyes as he completed the final stroke, as he always did. He wasn't really religious. He'd stopped going to church with his mom when he was 12, but it always felt right to leave the result of the game to God. Damn, said the old man as the 8 ball fell into its pocket. Brad flinched. He'd been hoping for some praise from the man for winning the game. Perhaps the damn was all that the man was prepared to offer. Excuse me, said Brad, but I don't think we bothered to exchange names. I'm Brad. Thomas, the old man extended a hand. I thought it was Che. I've been assuming it was Che the whole time. I've gotta say, you're quite the player. I take it you're not from around here. No, said the man. I grew up in Brisbane, retired in Sydney. I'm just passing through. Brad nodded. I figured. I actually grew up in this neighborhood. Played on tables like these when I was a kid, so I know most of the folks on the local competitive circuit. I guess someone like you would have to play competitively, huh? You don't pick up skills like that in a tiny pond. You'd be surprised, said Thomas. A man can accomplish quite a bit when given enough idle time. But you've played competitively, right? Said Brad. I used to, yes, said Thomas. I actually formally retired many years ago. They kept a table at home for practice to keep my mind sharp. Where did you compete? Oh, I toured in England. Wait, said Brad. You were a pro? A pro makes a salary, said Thomas. I won enough to cover my travel expenses and to make up for the time I spent not working a real job. Brad couldn't hide his excitement. Wait, you said England. Did you ever play in the World Billiards Championship? Yep, said the old man. I played the WBC for a few years, but eventually I decided the title was a summit I'd never reach, so I quit. Wait, said Brad again. You said your name was Thomas. Are you Thomas Walsh? Indeed I am, said Thomas. You're a legend. I think you might be overstating it. Even when I was at my prime, I wasn't the best. Results speak for themselves. Nah, screw that, said Brad. You were a finalist for 6 years running. Nobody's ever been that consistent. Even the best pros who managed to run hot burn out after more than 2 or 3 years. Thomas sipped his beer. I spent hundreds of hours watching your videos, said Brad. I didn't realize there were videos of me, said Thomas. I have tapes of the finals from 1967 and 1968. They didn't record them before that, but your last 2 years got recorded for posterity. They're kind of rarities at this point, but I had a coach who had a vault of old footage. Coach? Thomas arched an eyebrow. Yeah, said Brad. You didn't have a coach? Thomas shook his head. We mostly just taught ourselves and each other. Sometimes you got to practice with people better than you, but that was it. Well, I mostly taught myself, said Brad. But after I started winning some regionals, I joined a team so I could get sponsored and have a group to train with. Interesting. Brad waited for Thomas to question further, but no question came, so he decided to continue without an invitation. I won the WBC in 2012. No luck since then, I take it, said Thomas. Brad stammered out, well, yeah. He laughed, awkward. I've never been a consistent player, not like you anyway. He offered a sheepish grin. My mom had an album full of article clippings talking about me like I was some kind of prodigy, the next big thing. Now it feels like I'll forever be a footnote in history. Brad waited for the words of affirmation to come from his hero. Thomas just took another drink from his glass, finishing it off before setting it down next to Brad's empty bottles. Said Brad, feeling foolish. Can I get you a drink in exchange for another game? It would be a real pleasure. Sure, said Thomas. Get me a Guinness. Actually, make it 2. Brad sprinted down the stairs and returned several minutes later with a tray bearing 2 pints of Guinness. Thomas began setting up the table for the next game, Brad hovering over him. You know, said Brad, this place is pretty magical. Getting to play a game of pool like this. He wasn't quite sure how to say it, but figured Thomas knew what he was getting at. I mean, this is the sort of place where anything can happen, you know what I'm saying? Not anything, said Thomas. There are limits. Well, yeah, said Brad. But still, 2 former champs, one coming back from beyond the grave, so to speak. That's not the kind of encounter you'd expect to have anywhere else. Thomas looked at him. Magical indeed. When I walked up here, I didn't realize that you were, well, he rubbed his chin. Let's just say that I don't meet a lot of pool pros at bars. He took a sip of his beer. You want to break? Sure. Brad broke, and with his hands guided by instinct, managed to sink 5 balls consecutively. Like magic, his shots always connected. See, I feel like they haven't explicitly stated which one of them's dead. Like, obviously the implication would be that it's the older man, but I think that's not necessarily the case. Banana said he's lurking, thank you for lurking! And Jem said a frozen rack is when all the balls in a triangle are touching each other before the break. Oh, I see. Brad broke, and with hands guided by instinct, managed to sink 5 balls consecutively. Like magic, his shots always connected. Some people might buckle under pressure, but Brad's performance always seemed to rise to the occasion. With just 2 straight balls left, Brad knew he was on a streak. But as he lined up his next shot, he took a moment to consider the position of the 8 ball. It was nestled in an awkward position behind Thomas's balls, but if he could clear a path to it while sinking the last stripe. Brad looked at the sea of balls and knew there was no way for him to mentally calculate every vector, but instinct had gone him this far, and he wasn't about to stop listening to it now. Brad took the shot, and the cue ball knocked the last striped ball into the corner pocket. Then the cue ball bounced off the table, back towards Thomas's cluster of balls. Brad grinned in elation as the cue ball hit a solid, which hit another and another in a chain reaction that sent the 8 ball heading right toward the corner, just like he'd wanted. It was headed right towards the corner, where there were no balls to intercept it. It was headed right toward the corner, into the pocket. He stopped grinning. Brad knew with a growing dread that the friction of the cloth wouldn't be enough to stop the ball in time. He watched the impending disaster happen in slow motion, powerless to stop it. The game had been going so well. He'd been about to hit a perfect game in front of his childhood hero, and now he was going to lose it in the most inglorious way imaginable, an accidental, illegal combination shot. Brad closed his eyes, but not even God could help him now. He didn't need to see it, the sound of the ball plunking into the pocket was enough. He'd lost the game. Aw man, that's the end. That was a long memory. That was a doozy. Oh my goodness. Let me see if there's a way to save. Bookmark, save. Okay, we should make sure we save then. I wasn't sure. So like, how do I don't want to load. How do I save? Uh-oh. I mean, it says save and load your progress, so you should be able to save here. Right? I'm scared that if I click this, it's gonna like send me back to the beginning of the episode or something. Let me me check the Steam discussion board. How to save. Huh? Everyone just says it's a bug. Wait. Uh-oh. Oh no. Uh-oh. Oh, also thank you for the Club gem. Uh... I guess we'll just keep playing and hope that there's an autosave at some point? I don't know. I have concerns. I guess worst case we could end at the end of an episode and then just assume that it will let us load from there next time. Uh-oh. Alright, well real quick guys, I'm gonna go get another beverage. I will be right back. Okie dokie, I'm back. This game has a lot of talking, so I had to rehydrate. Thank you, Shadow. Thank you. Oh, these are all checkers. That's a lot of checkers. So it's not all books. Some of it was board games up here too. Oh, we got something here. Delicate operation. Ashley stepped behind the counter and winced as the floor creaked under her feet. What's that new beverage? I cracked open a cold one. It's Coca-Cola. Getting myself some more caffeine. Ashley stepped behind the counter and winced as the floor creaked under her feet. Maddie was nowhere to be seen, but Maddie did possess a remarkably sharp sense of hearing. Luckily, the cafe was empty as Ashley tiptoed to the case, where Maddie kept the baked goods. Ashley lifted the glass lid off of the case and closed her eyes to the scent of yesterday's lamingtons. Lamington. I'm gonna Google it because it's a pastry, so I want to know what this delicious pastry is. Lamington. It looks chocolatey and coconutty. Ashley had spent most of her life convinced that she didn't like coconuts, but that had changed the day that Che introduced her to lamingtons. To be fair, Ashley still wasn't sure that she liked coconut. Chocolate frosting could make anything taste good, but she couldn't deny the cake's irresistible allure. Ashley lifted a lamington from the case and gently set the lid back down. She raised the lamington to her lips and opened her mouth to take a bite. Ashley? In a moment of panic, Ashley shoved the pastry into her mouth and sealed her lips. Her mouth was quickly overwhelmed by the pastry's thick frosting covering, and she did her best to choke it down before turning to face Maddie. Said Ashley, hoping that her cheeks didn't betray what was inside. Ah, good you're here, said Maddie. It was a bad sign anytime Maddie expressed pleasure at seeing Ashley. Normally, Maddie wavered between being annoyed by Ashley's presence and being indifferently tolerant of her. Anytime Maddie was happy to see Ashley, it meant work. I need you to deliver something to Che for me, said Maddie. I'm gonna turn the volume down a little bit more. I feel like some songs are like much louder than others. Like this music here is quiet, but then the music in the game here was loud. Let me get back to where we were. Okay. Maddie turned to the counter to pick up a small bottle of something. As Maddie turned her attention to the bottle, Ashley took advantage of her momentary distraction to gulp down the remainder of the pastry. No time to chew, but her teeth wouldn't have done much good with the thick frosting. You're not busy, are you? Said Maddie. Ashley shook her head no. The pastry was no longer inside her mouth to create a conspicuous bulge of cheeks, but opening her mouth would reveal that the thick chocolate frosting that was still probably present on her teeth, so she kept her lips sealed. Good, said Maddie. He's upstairs. Get this to him ASAP. She handed the bottle to Ashley, and Ashley found herself surprised by how light the bottle was. Looking down, she could see that the bottle had thin walls. Within those thin walls, it contained some clear liquid, and its seal was held in place with a metal clamp, hermetically sealed. Ashley turned towards the stairs, holding the neck of the bottle in one hand and letting out a sigh. One last thing. Ashley swallowed her sigh with a gulp and closed her mouth before facing Maddie, lips tightly shut. Be careful not to drop it, said Maddie. Thousands could die if you spill any of it. In any other situation, Ashley would have asked Maddie a probing question to figure out what was in the bottle, or get some idea of the significance of the task that had been assigned to her, significant enough that thousands of lives held in the balance, but apparently not important enough for Maddie to do it herself. But Ashley's lips remained sealed, and she merely nodded and turned around. Lamingtons were not meant to be consumed in a single bite, especially by mouths as small as Ashley's, and the thickness of the frosting that lingered in her mouth and throat made her desperate to ask for some kind of drink, but she dared not ask for one. Ashley looked down the bottle, unsure of the best way to carry it. The bottle was slightly too large for her to hold in with just one hand, and grasping it in front of her with two hands felt awkward. The bottle wasn't heavy, but Ashley's confidence in her ability to carry the bottle without dropping it was less than perfect. Should she cradle it under her arm protectively? No, that seemed like it put her at greater risk of fumbling the bottle. The crook of her elbow wasn't as dexterous as her fingertips. She settled for carrying the bottle with one hand placed under the bottom to hold the weight, and the other hand wrapped around the neck to steady it. Ashley walked slowly with the bottle as she ascended the stairs. Maddie hadn't told her the liquid was volatile, and the bottle was hermetically sealed, so there was zero chance of anything spilling out, but it didn't change the sense of trepidation that Ashley felt. Armed with the knowledge that there were potentially thousands of lives at stake, she cringed every time she saw the liquid sloshing inside the bottle, leaping up and lapping at the edge of the seal. Ashley realized her arms were shaking, and pressed the bottle against her chest, hoping to steady it. As Ashley's hands shook nervously with the bottle held against her chest, she wondered if the large amount of sugar she had just forced down her throat had something to do with the shaking. It was more likely that her shaking was the result of being told that thousands of lives could be lost if she dropped the bottle. Still, the lingering taste of the pastry in her mouth didn't help. Ashley silently lamented the fact that she had been forced to consume the lamingtons so abruptly. Lamingtons were a treat to be savored, not shoved into one's mouth in a moment of panic. She hadn't even had the chance to properly enjoy it. It was hard to simultaneously feel the pleasure of a tasty treat and the panic of being caught. Whatever the outcome of this errand, she had wasted a wonderful pastry. Several agonizing minutes later, Ashley arrived at the top of the stairs and spotted Chase standing at the handrail. As she walked up, Che turned to face her, and she presented him with a bottle. Ashley cleared her throat of any lingering stickiness before speaking. "Maddie said you needed this." "Ah, good," said Che. "I was running low." Ashley gasped with relief as Che took the bottle from her and started taking deep, labored breaths, suddenly becoming aware of how high her heart rate was. Che popped open the seal on the bottle and then splashed some of it onto a rag. Several drops dripped down to the floor, and Ashley let out a terrified squeak. "Something wrong?" asked Che. Maddie said that thousands of lives could be destroyed by what's in that bottle." "Well, that's the idea," said Che as he folded the rag and ran it along the railing that overlooked the cafe's ground level. "This is supposed to kill 99% of all bacteria. That still leaves hundreds of bacteria alive, but I try not to think too hard about that part." Ashley's jaw dropped. "It's disinfectant?" "Yeah," said Che. "Why, did Maddie not tell you?" Ashley's shoulders slumped in a mix of relief and exasperation. "She only told me that it could kill thousands." "And you didn't ask what she meant by that?" "No," said Ashley. "I was preoccupied." "Huh," said Che. He turned his attention back to the railing, inspecting it for a moment before continuing to wipe it. Ashley turned to head back stairs. "By the way, Ashley?" Ashley turned to face Che. He reached out and placed a finger on her shirt, wiping off a bit of frosting. He raised it to his nose and smelled it. "Chocolate?" he said. "Yes," said Ashley. "One of Maddie's lamingtons?" "Yes," said Ashley. Che nodded and licked the frosting off his finger. "Go downstairs and bring one up for me too, will you?" I had a feeling that was going to be what happened. I had a feeling. What's behind this curtain? Maddie was washing her hands when Ashley poked her head around the corner. Here to confess something or here to ask for something? Thought Maddie to herself, as she dried her hands and turned to face the girl. The grin on Ashley's face confirmed that it was the latter. Maddie arched an eyebrow and turned to the coffee grinder. Ashley stepped around the corner and stood close enough to Maddie to occupy her field of view. Every time Maddie turned, Ashley again repositioned herself. She was waiting for Maddie to notice her. After a minute, Maddie decided that having Ashley hovering around her was more distracting than indulging whatever it was that she wanted to talk about. "What do you need, Ashley?" "I don't need anything," said Ashley. "Though now that you mention needing things, I think you might need something." "Such as?" "An advisor." Ashley smiled triumphantly as she delivered the word. "Uh-huh. What would I need an advisor for?" "To advise you, of course," said Ashley. "And I suppose you have a suggestion for who I should take on as an advisor." "Well," said Ashley, "now that you mention it, I'm not too busy. I could be your advisor." "Because you're an expert on..." "Advising. That's what an advisor needs to know about." "And what makes you an expert on advising?" "Well, I've been learning a lot about advisors," said Ashley. "They get to help make important decisions, and then the person they're advising has to take the responsibility for them. That's why I'd make a good advisor." "Because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions?" "I'd take responsibility for my advice, but if someone follows my advice, then that's their decision and their responsibility. Duh." "I don't think I need an advisor," said Maddie. "Oh, but you do," said Ashley. "Aren't you always complaining about how busy you are?" "Yes," said Maddie. "So busy that I don't have time to have extra counseling sessions with you." "I'm not going to be your counselor, Maddie. I'm going to be your advisor." "The difference being..." "A counselor counsels and an advisor advises." "Of course," said Maddie. Busy people always seem to have advisors, said Ashley. The Prime Minister has advisors. Presidents, too. All the most important people have advisors. Their advisors tend to be more experienced than they are, said Maddie. Advice travels from those who have it to those who need it. Well, I'm doing fine, so I don't need advising, said Ashley. But you could do with some advising, and I'd be happy to give you all the advice I've got. Plus, you're more important than I am. You're kind of like the Prime Minister of the terminal, or the President of the terminal, or whatever. The kind of person who needs advisors. I see, said Maddie. So, am I hired? You already have a lot on your plate, I'm sure, said Maddie. Nope, said Ashley. I've got lots of time free. Ah, in that case, you have time to wash these dishes for me, said Maddie, tossing a drying rag to Ashley. Let me know when you're done. Wait! I'm only free to advise. I'm physically fatigued from a long day of work. Only my mind has extra processing power. I can only help you if it's by advising. Well, advising has physical responsibilities associated with it, right? Said Maddie. Like sometimes an advisor will go to places to get important information. Well, I guess so, said Ashley. I can do anything that relates to giving you information. In that case, Advisor Ashley, I need you to give me a report on which of these plates looks best when it's sparkling clean. But they're all dirty right now. Exactly. Time for you to do some investigative research. See ya. I want to know who this child is and like why she's been adopted by the cafe. Darts? From Jeanette, is that how you say it? Jeanette? Jeanette Annette, JeanBean19@yahoo.com. Subject, spirit beacon leaking. I thought it said bacon at first, and I was like, spirit bacon. Date, January 25th, 2014, 7:58 a.m. To the admin at terminalvelocity.org. Hi, Madeline. This is Jeanette from the location down by the docks. I believe we met in person for the first time last month. I was opening up this morning and noticed that most of our spirit juice was gone. I checked the map and saw that you're in the nearest location with a spirit beacon. I think you may have drained some of our supply. Honest mistake, I'm sure. But if you could stop running your spirit beacon during peak hours, that would be much appreciated. Thanks, and looking forward to working with you in the future. Jeanette. Hi, Madeline. I hope you got my previous message. I just want to give you an update on the spirit juice situation over here. I had several bottles that I marked last night, just to confirm the issue, and when I got in this morning, the levels were below where I marked them. We're definitely losing spirit juice, and you're the only spirit beacon close enough to be affecting us. Please modulate your use to reasonable levels. I don't think this should be a problem as long as you're not running your beacon overnight. This is like dishwashing, or like, washing clothes. I feel like this is the thing that like people used to argue about. 1 second, my drink is being messy. I gotta get a napkin. Okie dokie, back. I don't know why, but for some reason, sometimes when I use a straw with like a can of Coke, like the soda will start like coming up the straw and like coming out. And I don't know why. It must be some kind of like water physics thingy. Now this shouldn't be a problem as long as you're not running your spirit beacon overnight. Again, not trying to assign blame here, but please be considerate to folks at other locations. Thanks, Jeanette. Madeline, we are draining spirit juice over here so fast that if I sit and watch, I can see it disappearing from the bottle. It's called capillary action? Oh. How come sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't? I'm gonna Google it. Capillary action straw. Let's see. Capillary action occurs when the force of adhesion is greater than the force of cohesion. Okay, but why does it happen sometimes? Like, what's different about this can of soda versus others? It is a mystery. You're the only spirit beacon that's even remotely close to where we are, so we really need you to stop. If it's affecting us, then it's probably affecting other locations. This is completely unacceptable. Fix this now. Jeanette. Hey, Madeline. Care to explain why you weren't at the terminal today when I showed up? I spoke with a girl named Ashley who said that you decided to take the day off. What a coincidence. I was not impressed by the crying routine you had her do. Honestly, you should be ashamed of using a child's fake tears to try and hide from a situation that you caused. Turn off your beacon. I don't want to be the bad guy here, but if you don't do something, I'm gonna have to get the council involved. From Clarence From. clancefrom@yahoo.com. Subject, misplaced cutlery. February 8th, 2014. Hey Banana, welcome back. Hi Maddie, this is Clarence from the docks location. Just want to give you a heads up. This morning we found out that the site manager we recently hired, I believe you met Jeanette last month, was leaving spirit juice in untempered glass bottles, and we had a bit of a leak. We ended up having a bit of a problem with some animated cutlery. We have the situation under control over here, and we're mostly sure everything is accounted for on our end. Unfortunately, this started happening about a week ago, which might be enough for something to wander off far enough that we wouldn't be able to detect it. Very unlikely that this happened, but just want to give you a heads up in case a possessed steak knife wandered off far enough for you to find your beacon and decide to pay you a visit. Sorry about the situation. Rest assured that the person responsible for this won't have any opportunities to mess up anything of this magnitude again. By the way, are you planning on going to Em's birthday next month? Regards, Clance. From Maddie. Hi Clance. Sorry I missed your message earlier. I no longer use this address. Please use contact@terminalvelocity.org for anything related to terminal business. Hope you enjoyed Em's birthday party. I don't remember why I couldn't attend, but I'm sure it was a good reason. Maddie. Oh. And I think this is the last thing. You're overdue this week, said Ned. He tapped the list of rules that Maddie kept posted by the door. This 24-hour rule. Are you sure you've been enforcing it? I think you know how things run around. I think how we run things around here is none of your business, said Maddie. Actually, it absolutely is my business, said Ned. In fact, keeping the rules is basically my only business. That's kind of what the word enforcer means. I'm supposed to scold you for breaking the rules. So audit me. Fine. Let me check your ledger. We don't keep a ledger, said Maddie. Well, maybe you should. Lots of places do. It's a great system. You have someone stand at the door and have them mark down whenever someone comes in or leaves. Then you forcibly evict people who are overstaying their welcome. I'm amazed that you don't have a system like that in place. Some people overstay their welcome. Other people understay it, says Che. There's no need to strictly keep track of how long people stay, right? Just maintain the balance. You're right, said Ned. All that matters is maintain the balance. So maintain the balance, because when you don't, we have a problem. We're a bit short-staffed to have someone acting as a full-time doorman, said Maddie. Figure it out. He tapped the board listing the rules. Change 24 hours to 23 hours. When you say 24 hours, people think you just colloquially mean one day, and they don't pay attention to the specific time. When you say 23 hours, people actually have to keep track of what time it is. That'd be fine, said Che, except for the part where you're cutting time off of people's stay. Trust me, said Ned. Anyone who would go right up to the limit is probably going to go over it. 23 hours is going to mean 23 hours plus an extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour plus, however long it takes to finish their drink. And if they leave in less than 24 hours, who cares? I care, said Che. You're right. You should care. In fact, you should celebrate whenever you manage to scoot someone out of here in under 24 hours, because the balance is upset and you've got to correct it. You can either correct the balance 1 hour at a time, or the council can come in here and repossess some souls. Or we can find someone who knows how to manage this property responsibly. He turned to Che. Come on, buddy. I don't want to have to take this place away from you. That would be quite the escalation, said Maddie. Well, you're already on the first level of escalation, which is a stern talking to, said Ned. Let's try not to escalate it any further. Che sighed. Well, Maddie cut him off. We'll change the rule to 23 hours, okay? Buzz off. Wow, really? Said Ned. Well, okay then. And while you're rewriting the signs, you should also take the green tea frappuccino off the menu. Frapp should be for coffee, not tea. Done, said Maddie. Wait, really? Dang, I didn't realize you were so open to feedback. And that caramel. We'll take it under advisement, said Maddie, placing a hand on Ned's chest and physically pushing him towards the door. Hold up. What are you doing? Removing an unwanted guest, said Maddie. I need the practice if we're going to start enforcing those rules that you care so much about. Now said Ned as he continued backpedaling to stay upright. Look, you could just... Bye, said Maddie as Ned crossed the threshold out of the cafe, and Maddie shut the door in his face. She turned around, leaning her back against the door and sighed. Che raised an eyebrow. You're serious about the rule change? Yeah, said Maddie. I'll change the sign on the menu after we close tonight. Wait, really? The rule change is just to keep him off our back. And the menu thing? I've been meaning to take that off anyway, said Maddie. It's the kind of menu item that attracts the worst sort of people. What's wrong with green tea frappuccinos? Green tea frappuccinos are good. This is a personal attack. Well, okay, said Che. Though I do think we should change the rule back to 24 hours after things have had enough time to balance out. Of course, said Maddie. Wouldn't want to upset the balance too far in the opposite direction. What would we do with all the extra time anyway? Alright, so we can go down now, I believe. We started up here. We got a robot there. What else we got? Enter doodle mode. Doodle mode. In doodle mode, you can draw a face for each ashling. Whenever an ashling appears throughout the game, you'll be able to see your artistic masterpiece. I see. So this one was made from like a cardboard box or something? Move cursor, draw face. These are like controller keys. I guess I just do mouse probably. We went from sending dead people to the afterlife in the Spirit Fair to serving them a Necrobarista. Yeah. But in a way, it's kind of similar. Because, like, before the people pass on. Is that a borb? I don't know. I don't know what it is yet. Maybe we can make it a cat. Why is there a white dot there? Huh? Why is there a white dot? What is it doing there? I guess it just lives there. Alright, this is Schrodinger's cat box. How do I go to the next one? Over here? Can I click you? I don't I don't know the controls. It's like it wants me to use a controller. If I go back. Okay, there's one done. Alright, here's a milk bottle. And Jacoby. Oh, you want an uwu? Jacoby can be an uwu. There we go. Jacoby will be our uwu. We got uwu, we got a cat, and we got a robot face. Alright. These are our friends now. Oh, you were saying at the cat? Oh, well, I needed a third face anyway, so I stole it as a suggestion. This shouldn't be a depressing memory for any of us. Ah, they put me back up top. Why did I get sent back up here? What happened? Where's your face? Where's your face? I gave you guys a face, didn't I? Did it not work? Oh no, they have their faces still. Okay. I guess it just doesn't update in this scene yet. But in future scenes, they will have their faces. Okay, good. I was like, my robots. Okie dokie, I'm here, ready to continue. Continue. Day 2, 12 p.m. at the terminal. Whoa. Rise and shine. Don't wanna. You shouldn't waste your last hours on Earth sleeping. Whoever said I'll have planned time to sleep when I'm dead probably had a different idea of how things would play out after death. Man, I was hoping that I was having a really weird long dream. Sorry, no such luck. Some more pedantic magical practitioners are quite bothered by flippant and colloquial use of the word luck. Shay isn't one of them. I'm still having trouble getting my head around it. I totally understand. Want a coffee? Yeah, just something simple. Hipster coffee coming right up. What's going on downstairs? I didn't even know you had a downstairs. Well, there's more to this place than meets the eye. Maddie's down there desperately trying to fix our debt situation. It sounds like she's hosting a cage match or something. Well, not exactly. But she's mentioning wanting to do that. There's some wrestler called the Red Comet that she wouldn't stop talking about for a while. Huh. And then because of that, Ashley got obsessed with wrestling for a bit and kept trying to suplex me. Ashley is small, so she has to opt for wrestling moves that control the opponent's weight instead of trying to lift them. Did she manage to? She's tiny. A couple of times. Huh. It was very humiliating. I can imagine. But to properly answer your question, Maddie's running a gambling ring. When you find yourself standing on the brink of death, a wager could be a chance at salvation, or the last chance to feel danger. Both of these appeal to different types of patrons. Hey Sunny, good afternoon, or good evening. It's definitely evening over there. Downstairs? All by herself? It's a fairly unconventional one. And by unconventional you mean... Mortals generally aren't involved. The stakes are higher than usual. Oh. Coffee's ready. Come over and get it. Sunny says, I'm awake and I'm in bed right now. Uh-oh, are you feeling yucky again today, Sunny? Are you feeling nauseous again? What's going on? They gamble for time, among other things. You don't sound like you're a huge fan of the idea. I'm not. It's undignified. I mean, as long as May is not in danger, shouldn't it be fine? The council doesn't like it. They turn a blind eye because we don't cause trouble otherwise, but I'd rather not have to worry about bad things coming our way. Because Maddie refuses to approach the problem from a different angle. And by the problem, you mean the debt, right? I was pretty drunk, but then I think I remember Maddie storming off after Ned turned up. Yes, I'm a bit worried about her. I wish I could help. You all seem pretty nice. The thought's appreciated. Maddie will figure it out eventually, though, I'm sure. She just needs time. Hey, thanks for the coffee, by the way. I just realized you haven't actually made me pay for a bunch of them. How do you expect to pay for them? Oh, right. Yep, no cash. If I were feeling particularly capricious, I'd ask you to pay in time. But you're a nice kid, and you need every minute you've got. Sunny said, I feel nauseous. No more acid reflux, though. But you lost your appetite. You had ramen today, and you usually have a big bowl with some extra gyros and eggs, but you ordered just a regular bowl and you couldn't finish the broth. Aww. I'm sorry you're still feeling yucky, dude. Is there anything you can take for the nausea? You said yesterday that you took something and it seemed to help a little bit. You want to head downstairs? I can see your eyes darting to the stairs. I'm not going down, but I'm also not going to stop you. Yeah, if that's okay. Go on then, I'll stick around up here. Catch you in a bit. So what kind of gambling are they doing down here? The stairs that led down to the basement were solid and well-worn, with smooth ruts on each step and a handrail that had been polished to a silky sheen through years of use. Kishan has always liked stairwells. People never lingered in them for too long, and he'd found them to be a good place to catch a breather. He wasn't obsessed with them, that'd be weird, but he definitely appreciated a nice set of stairs. On further reflection, it was probably a little weird. Downstairs, Maddie's audience clamored for blood. Even the dead find blood sports compelling. From you to me, with the understanding that your remaining moments on this plane are limited, you surrender this time freely without coercion as agreed. Contract fulfilled, you're free to go. Everything comes at a price. Nothing risked, nothing gained. Phew. That's 3 in a row, you bloodthirsty... You bloodthirsty blokes. The crowd cheered. Maddie was clearly an expert at winding them up into a frenzy. Who's next? The room fell dead silent. Come on, isn't anyone here brave enough to challenge me? I thought you came here to play with knives, you pansies. Seriously, anyone? Don't hold out on me. Do I need to pick someone out from the crowd then? Is this what we've come to? Maddie's gaze swept the audience. Kishan, good to see you upright. Interested in a game of skill. Me? Yes, you. Oh, sure? Give me some enthusiasm, my man. Sure. What's the game? 5-finger fillet. Some of the people in here just call it the knife game. You heard of it? Oh, finally something I'm good at. Episode 3. Rise and shine. Also, Sunny, thank you for the res. Thank you. I've been dead all stream. You've got a lot of knives in this place. Tell me about it. Damn, this thing has a good weight to it. Of course, I wouldn't make you compete with an inferior tool. Huh. What? Sorry, I was waiting for you to segue into calling me an inferior tool. Shoot, that was low-hanging fruit, wasn't it? Next time, mate. Sure. Kishan did another experimental slash, and this time it made an audible whoosh. The spectators oohed and awed. But this wasn't for them. He knew that he only had one shot to get accustomed to the blade. I don't like this. You done showing off? Nothing wrong with putting on a little show. Sounds like you're stalling for time. Getting cold feet, perhaps? Psh, not a chance. Let's get started then. You know what you're wagering. Shay mentioned something about you gambling with time. Ugh, it's not gambling if it's a game of skill. But that's besides the point. We're both wagering 4 hours. If you win, it comes back... Oh, if you win, it comes from the cafe's balance. If I win, it comes from yours. You've got around 16 hours left, in case you weren't keeping track. Shoot, only that many. Want a little extra time to play with then? Hell yes. Let's stop wasting it and get this over with. You sure you know what you're getting into? Most people are pretty shy about playing with the time they have left, especially when their tank's running as empty as yours. Yep, come on. Unless you're getting cold feet. Hardly. You've got 30 seconds. Smack the timer when you're ready. The crowd cheered and Kishan fed off their enthusiasm. In response, Maddie leaned back and tapped her finger on the table, feigning impatience. He met her eyes, grinned, and continued his performance. His stabbing motion got faster as he went, to the point narrowly missing each of his fingers. Stabs, strong enough to drive the knife a millimeter or two into the table, were good if you wanted to put on a show. And of course, giving the spectators a show was part of the fun. You might be going fast enough to put on a show, but you're not going fast enough to win. How do you win? I don't understand. How'd I do? 16 sets if I count correctly. Whoa. I couldn't do 16. That's how many Maddie beat me with. Is she gonna lose? Nah, she's gonna kick his bum. Feeling good about the result? Certainly am. Rightio then. Watch closely. Oh, I will. 1, 3, 7, 11, 15. Told ya, she's unbeatable. Is it magic? She could cheat if she wanted to. Glub glub. Okay, thank you, Sunny. Definitely not. She's just that good. Poor guy, he didn't know what he was getting into. Sorry, mate. You beat me fair and square. I'm pretty impressed. I aim to please. I'll be taking those hours now if you don't mind. Yeah, sure. How does this work? Just like this. You won't feel a thing. Kishan felt a brief tightness in his chest, and for just a moment, the tip of Maddie's finger burned white hot. You can't beat entropy. Anytime you do an energy transfer, there's going to be some amount of energy lost to heat. Ow! Shoot! Sorry, I lied. It's done now, though. Alright, does anyone else dare to compete with me? Come on, looking for some actual decent opposition here. I'll take any challenge, even if it's chess or something. Any challenge? I challenge you to get everyone a drink. Rounds on me. Oh, he mad. I didn't realize you were watching. There wasn't anything happening upstairs and I got bored. Right. So, you took some hours from Kishan, huh? Yes, I did. Do you feel good about that? Che, do you? I won them fair and square. He didn't know what he was getting into. There's an obvious power imbalance here that you're exploiting. Che isn't one to let you forget the responsibilities that come with power. He knew the rules. That doesn't change anything. You led him to believe that he'd get some extra time. Maddie knows firsthand how seductive the promise of extra time can be. And, barring a miracle on his part, that absolutely wasn't going to happen. It doesn't matter. He's just passing through. A couple hours won't make any difference. He knew the rules, and so do I. Maddie, I'm disappointed in you. Our patrons respect us. We need to earn that respect by treating them with respect ourselves. This is not respectful or dignified. Cheating vulnerable passer-throughs out of their time. We're above that. We're better than that. I don't care whether you think it's dishonest or not. I want you to give that poor man his time back. Don't pout, this is serious. I feel like a broken record saying this, but while I understand your intentions are good, you can't keep doing these things. It's all for you. If you really want to do this for me, find another way. This isn't worth it, Maddie. It breaks my heart to see you like this, and I know that you're trying your hardest. But this really, truly is not worth sacrificing your own self-respect over. Everyone here respects you, but you gambling with hours just cheapens that. I'll give the hours back. Shame, I was pretty great with a knife. Still not as good as me. I was pretty close. Hey Rustam, hello! One chai coming up. Our robots! Lovelace. Yes? What form did you have before being reborn? I think I was a crab. Come on, I'm being serious. Ashley wouldn't harvest spirit liquid from a crab. You're assuming an awful lot about how squeamish she is. As far as I can remember, I lived above streets next to the sky. So, a bird then? Wings and feathers and such. No, not that. I do remember flying though. Oh, were you a sugar glider? Describe? Did you eat insects and tree sap and flower nectar? That is familiar. Wonder how Ashley found you then. Could have been anything really. You mentioned bright lights earlier. Oof. Yeah, I'm thinking you got hit by a car. That seems likely. Is that bad? I mean, you're here now, so... whether you like it or not. Shut up. I am still adjusting. Banana says, I'm gonna go have dinner, plus I'm getting a bit of headache, so some rest might be needed. See you, Fangy. Okay, bye, Banana. Feel better. Enjoy your food. I hope your headache goes away. Look at you, turning into a responsible human being. So now we're doing a fight club? Instead of gambling, we're doing a fight club? Studio mode is now available. You can now speak to Kishan to access studio mode. What is studio mode? Fight Club. Thank you for the glove gloves, honey. Let's go, little girl. The man standing in front of Beth smirked. The knife he held seemed almost slight compared to his massive hands, but that didn't make it any less intimidating. Finish this one quick, came a call from behind the knife holder. 3 men stood behind him, wearing expressions which ranged from amused to bored. Beth felt her palm getting sweaty. Sorry, I just want to break into the Eminem song. And loosened her grip on the knife in her right hand, sliding her thumb along the guard to reassure herself that its shape hadn't changed since the moment she'd picked it up. Take your friend's advice, Beth said to the man who was menacing her. Finish this quick. After all, I'm just a little girl. Well, as little as any 15-year-old girl could be. Can do, said the man as he drew his knife up for an overhead swing. The man's movement suggested that he didn't know how to use a knife. Not really. He was swinging the knife like he'd swing a fist, like he was trying to bludgeon her with it, like he'd never really used a knife before. He was stupid. Mercifully stupid. She tried to reassure herself of that fact, trying not to lose her resolve. He lunged towards her as he brought the knife down, and Beth raised her left arm. She felt the edge of the knife hit her skin, but the impact of the blow caused the man to lose his grip off the knife. An opening. Beth grabbed the attacker's knife arm and pulled him towards her while thrusting her own knife towards him at chest level. She drove the knife into the man's chest with all the force she could muster, and he fell to the ground and gasped as Beth released her grip on him. The man lay on the ground and put a hand to his chest, moaning. Son of a... You okay down there? Said Beth. The man sat up and patted his chest. I didn't expect... To lose to a girl? No, said the man. Well, that too, but I didn't expect it to hurt this much. These rubber practice knives are no joke, said Beth. If I'd stabbed any harder, I might have broken a rib. The man stood up. You got a name, girl? You can call me Beth, she said, extending a hand. He shook it with a look of hesitation. I'm Kyle. I've got to say, Beth, that was kind of a cheap trick. How do you mean? Said Beth. I mean the way you blocked my knife with your arm. It just bounced right off. You couldn't do that if we were using real knives. He's right, said one of the spectators. Not really a fair fight with rubber knives. I'd like a rematch, said Kyle. Yeah, said one of the spectators. Rematch. The others began chanting along with them. Rematch, rematch, rematch. A voice thundered from above. I thought I told you guys to keep it down. Everyone spun around to face the stairs leading up to the ground floor. Maddie was leaning over the railing of the staircase with a stern look on her face. She tapped a poster on the wall. Beth took a moment to glance at the sign. Fight Club rules. 1. Don't quote Tyler Durden. 2. Seriously, no Tyler Durden quotes. 3. Always assume your opponent is mortal. Practice weapons only. 4. Be considerate to other guests. Keep noise to reasonable levels. We don't have that many rules here, said Maddie. Please don't make me kick you out of the basement. Everyone else in the room cast their gaze downward, looking ashamed, with several mumbled apologies. Maddie nodded and climbed back up the stairs, content that she'd made her point. Seriously though, said Kyle, not really a fair fight without real knives. Beth walked over to the edge of the room and lifted a rug, revealing 2 steak knives. Several whispers erupted from the small crowd. Where'd you get these? Asked Kyle. I swiped them from upstairs. They're not exactly combat gear, but these blades are fit enough to cut through flesh, whether it's a cooked steak or a human arm. Oh. We've already broken one rule tonight. How about breaking another one? I won't get hurt, said Kyle. I mean, I can still feel the pain, but, you know, I'm not afraid of getting stabbed. Okay, so Kyle's already dead. Jem says, one of my instructors said that there are no winners in a knife fight. One of the dead and the seriously injured. Yeah, I imagine. When you're, like, in that close range. I'm not afraid either, said Beth, but don't say you're ready for this if you're not ready to bleed. She turned the knife over in her hands, pressing her thumb against the tip, just enough to draw a single drop of blood. Kyle grinned. Do I look like I'd be here if I was afraid to die? Keyshawn's footsteps echoed in a way that startled him. Were his footsteps always so loud? Perhaps it was just the contrast with the surrounding environment, which seemed completely silent, that made his footfalls seem so jarringly loud as he walked along the catwalk. He was on a catwalk. Why was he on a catwalk? On the catwalk, yeah, on the catwalk. There seemed to be a gaping space below him, filled with some sort of mist that he couldn't see through. It was fog-like, and yet despite the fog that lapped at his feet, the air felt so dry. Thank you for lurking, Sunny! The air was thick here. As he breathed heavily, Kishan felt an overwhelming sweet, sickly odor, like the smell of wet or rotting wood, but all he could see around him were steel beams and a concrete path in front of him. Was it rust that he was smelling? No, he knew the smell of rust. This was different. This smell was somehow organic, like the smell of a forest after a fresh rainfall. Kishan shivered. Far in the distance, he could see what looked like a building of some sort, so far away that it made the structure he was inside feel almost tunnel-like, as if its only purpose was to convey to him the distant building. He continued walking forward, but as he walked, the building seemed to be growing more and more distant. He quickened his pace, and as he walked faster, he could feel himself moving through the thick, stifling air, yet as he looked down, he could see the texture of the catwalk in front of him unchanged, as though he were walking in place. Kishan started to turn backwards, but saw only a blinding light. His eyes immediately shut, and when he opened them, he was again facing into the tunnel, with a distant building at the center of his field of view. He tried turning around, but every time he tried to turn his head, his eyes involuntarily shut at the sight of the light, and he was forced to close his eyes or look away, always confronted again with the sight of the small hut when he opened his eyes. His heart pounded violently inside of his chest. The tunnel was so quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat, feel his own pulse inside of his head. Is this a train tunnel? Something about this place felt deeply, incredibly wrong. Get back. I have to get back. He tried turning again, and this time found himself unable to even begin rotating his body before his eyes snapped shut, placing him again in a world of darkness, until he opened them again and was confronted with the sight of the small hut in the distance, now looking more far away than ever. I have to get back. Kishan kept facing the building and took a step backwards. As he placed his foot on the ground, he felt a gust of wind knock him forward. He let out a yelp of terror. Instinctively, his hands reached for the opposite edges of the catwalk as he fell, trying to steady himself for fear of falling off. The catwalk was wide enough that his body didn't land close enough to the edge for that to have been a risk, and yet as he looked towards the edge, he felt a growing sense of dread, that there was something down there that would capture him if he allowed it to catch even the smallest hold of him. Almost as he thought it, he felt the sensation of something pressing against his legs. He stumbled to his feet. He ran forward. The hut ahead of him seemed to grow no closer as he ran, but he ran all the same, running not to reach a destination, but to be away from whatever it was that was behind him. Moments ago, his only thought was an overwhelming desire to turn back, a worry that he was somehow trapped in here. But now that worry was replaced with an overwhelming sense of dread that propelled him forward. He had been pushed forward by something. Something was behind him. Kishan leaned forward and ran. He was no runner. He often found himself winded when forced to climb more than one flight of stairs. And yet he ran and felt no sense of tiredness holding him back, no need to catch his breath. Maybe it was the thick air here that somehow never allowed him to run out of breath. Maybe it was that fear of whatever it was behind him that was that strong. Kishan felt the air stinging at his eyes as he ran. By now he was running as fast that the thick air felt like a hot wind on his face. Tears began running down his face, but he couldn't find it in him to raise a hand to wipe at his eyes. That would have meant slowing his sprint. So he closed his eyes, fully aware that he was running down a catwalk that had no handrail on either side. At this point, he didn't care. He ran and ran. Long after the tears on his face had dried, Kishan realized that he could hear only the sound of his own feet as they struck the catwalk. He couldn't even hear the rush of wind, even as it seemed to buffet his face. Buffet? It's not buffet like a restaurant, right? Probably not. There were no sounds of anyone or anything pursuing him. Perhaps there was no pursuer at all. He allowed himself to open his eyes and look down. He looked over his shoulder. This time, there was no blinding light, only a distant glow, like the light at the end of a long tunnel. Hey, Omnicore, hello! It's Buffett. Okay, cool. In a way, it was the light at the end of the long tunnel, and in observing the dim glow of the distant light... Dim blow? Probably dim glow. Kishan suddenly realized how far he had run. He turned around and saw the building right in front of him. It had windows that were covered with the same fog that covered the ground around him. Kishan reached for the door handle. I feel like it's going to be the cafe. He half expected it to be locked and felt a moment of panic as the handle bowed under the pressure of his hand. Bowed? Bowed? Probably bowed. Was he ready to face whatever was on the other side of that door? Did he even want to enter? Did he even have a choice? What was it that awaited him inside this building? Answers or more baffling questions? Keyshawn looked down the tunnel and suddenly felt cold. Whatever this place was, he needed to escape it, and the only form of egress that seemed available to him was the door of this building. He leaned on the handle and felt the door swing open. Yeah, that's definitely a cafe. Cellar? Terminal. Oh. What is this? Ashley's journal. It's our robot friend. Row Battle Royale Robots Power Rankings. Alpha Charlie Echo. Ace. All of the commentators call this robot Ace, probably because it's so good. It seems biased for them to call one particular robot Ace, but it's obvious how it got this name when it wins all the time. At first it looks like this bot doesn't have a weapon, and it's just designed to be really fast and agile. Then you realize that its entire body is a weapon for ramming into unsuspecting people. This would be a great tactic if you got into a fight where you didn't have a weapon. You don't need a flamethrower or a buzzsaw if you just have a 150 kilogram body and can ram into people really fast. This probably wouldn't work very well for me because I don't weigh 150 kilograms and I'm pretty small. But that isn't a problem since I usually carry things that can be used as weapons. Like I could carry a crowbar, and then if someone tried to attack me, I could take the L end and jam the crowbar under their feet, and then pull it up and use it to knock them off balance, even though I'm probably smaller than most people. I'm not sure why it's named Alpha Charlie Echo. I assumed it was a remake or made in the style of a bot called Alpha Charlie, but there aren't any other bots by that name, and the team that made it are all rookies. Also, none of them are named Charlie. Maybe it's named after someone's dad or brother. Their next robot will probably be called Beta Charlie Echo, or maybe Alpha V2 Charlie Echo or Final 2 Charlie Echo. It's just cause it's Ace. What is this? Maddie opened an herb jar inside as she examined the contents. Rotten. She began pouring them down the sink. I hate poppy seeds, she muttered to herself. I won't tolerate that kind of hate speech here, said Che. Too bad the rules aren't yours to make, old man, said Maddie. You should have thought that before you handed me the keys. I could help you get the keys back, said Ashley. I've got a magnetic grabber that... The keys are a metaphor, said Maddie. They're not some kind of magical talisman that grants ownership over an establishment. But there is a magical talisman that grants ownership over the establishment? Asked Ashley. Yeah, it's called a deed, and this deed entitles me to certain privileges, such as expressing my hatred for poppy seeds. Hate is not good for the soul, said Che. Hatred corrupts the soul. Hey, I'm new here, said Kashan. But, are you talking literally? Does hatred actually corrupt the soul? No, hatred does not corrupt the soul, said Maddie. Nor will poppy seeds, despite being a distant cousin of the bay leaf. It's a good thing, said Che, because Maddie's soul is full of hate. Trust me, I've seen the ultrasound. Once again, as the new guy, I gotta ask, are you talking literally? No, hatred does not show up on an ultrasound, said Maddie. And I assume the thing about bay leaves corrupting the soul is also a metaphor? Oh no, said Maddie. That part was entirely literal. Bay leaves absorb bitterness. You always remove the bay leaf from something before eating it. Bitterness as in, like, figurative bitterness? No, I was talking literally, in the sense that bay leaves absorb figurative bitterness. But yes, they also absorb literal bitterness. I am so confused right now, said Che. Just don't absorb a bay leaf into your soul and you'll be fine. Is that true? Is that actually the function of a bay leaf? It's not the kind of thing that happens accidentally. Are you sure? Said Kishan. Because I think I may have accidentally ingested a bay leaf one time. My friend's grandma made this big pot of chili. The soul is not connected to your digestive tract, said Maddie. It's not your gut. So unless you're inhaling your food, it's not going to be a problem. Again, said Kishan, new guy here. Soul, respiratory system. That's a thing? Oh yeah, said Maddie. Why do you think people are so into burning herbs and inhaling them? I always assumed that was just how, I don't know exactly how cannabis works, but it's like psychoactive? What? Said Maddie. No, not that herb. Like people who burn incense. Huh, said Kishan. That's something new. That's why you always have to watch out for when herbs go bad, said Maddie. Someone might accidentally inhale some of them. Yet another reason to hate poppy seeds and their short shelf life. Kishan's eyes narrowed. How long does it take for poppy seeds to go bad? These went bad in a matter of months, said Maddie. A matter of months? Said Kishan. How many months are we talking here? Maybe 30, said Maddie. Kishan did some counting on his fingers. 30 months is 2.5 years if I'm not mistaken. Che piped up. You left that jar of poppy seeds for 2.5 years? Maddie nodded. As I said, a number of months. 30's a number. 30 is an injustice, said Che. How have you not touched poppy seeds in all this time? People don't actually like poppy seeds, said Maddie. Jem says bay leaf adds a rich, peppery, savory flavor. But it's for the flavor. Gotcha. See, you can't believe everything you hear in a video game, I guess. People just like the muffins that poppy seeds come in. If you give them a muffin without the poppy seeds, they'll like it even more. Poppy seeds just make everything worse. People love poppy seeds, said Che. Me, for instance, I have a great love for the humble poppy. Really, said Maddie. Then how is it that you've never touched this jar of poppy seeds in the past 30 or so months? It's been sitting on the spice shelf. Che shrugged. I like lots of things, evidently, but in the past 30 months I've found things I enjoyed more than the humble poppy seed. I'm offended by the idea that you would discriminate against such a lowly and unpretentious food item. You like the idea of poppy seeds, says Maddie. You like the idea of an herb that comes in discrete units called seeds, so that you don't have to wonder about how much a sprig is. It's something that you can picture as opposed to cumin, that you wouldn't recognize even if I said it on your tongue, or rosemary, which you probably forgot was a spice, and which you couldn't tell from time. When you see me disposing of poppy seeds, it pains you, because it's something you can conceptualize. If I told you that I hate cumin and had to flush a bunch of it down the sink, would you be bothered by that? Probably not, said Che. So really, it is not I who am discriminating against the poppy seed. It is you who is discriminating against non-poppy seed spices. There is no reason for us to have poppy seeds anywhere in this cafe. People claim they want them, but you can go years without ever serving up a single poppy seed, and no one will notice its absence. A woman wearing a loose green sweater walked up to the counter. Were you just talking about poppy seeds? Yes, said Maddie. We're all out. Oh, that's too bad, said the woman. I was hoping you might have a... Don't say muffin, thought May to herself. Don't say anything about poppy seed muffins. A poppy seed muffin, said the woman. My grandmother was really fond of them. Che grinned as Maddie tried to avoid cringing. The woman in the green sweater said, they used to be part of the standard muffin trifecta. Chocolate, blueberry, poppy seed. I always wondered why cafes stopped serving poppy seed muffins. I wonder, said Maddie aloud. It's been so long since I've tasted one, said the woman. Years, I'm guessing, said Maddie. Yeah, it's been years, said the woman. I'm gonna check all the aisles just to be safe. Alright. Billiards 2. It's Brad again? Huh. I thought the story was done. You know, kid, you've got style. Brad perked up. It was the first unsolicited remark he'd heard from the old man Thomas all night. He'd been expecting a compliment after beating Thomas, but to hear that kind of comment after a loss made him perk right up. Thanks, said Brad. It wasn't a compliment, said Thomas. And just like that, Brad's mood came crashing down. Thomas continued. All the best players back in the day, none of them had style. Style doesn't win tournaments. Sure, said Brad. Consistency is what wins tournaments. Consistency doesn't mean anything, said Thomas. That's a symptom of skilled play. It's not a thing that you can just decide on. No one sits down at the table thinking, gee, I better be consistent today. Nobody. So if you're not thinking about consistency, what are you thinking about? Fundamentals. Thomas chalked the end of his cue. Fundamentals are what matters most, because if you don't get the fundamentals right, all the fancy stuff isn't going to matter. Thomas leaned down to line up his cue. The straight-in shot is your specialty. Several opponents told me that exactly that, tongue-in-cheek thinking that they were insulting me, but I take it as a compliment. If you can control the cue ball, you can turn any shot into a chip shot. That's what you want to do. That's how I can still sink 'em, even in my old age. I know, I've been watching you, said Brad. Your cue ball control is incredible. You're a very talented player. Not talented, said Thomas. You can do it too. The question is whether you've got the discipline and the patience. Thomas followed through with his stroke and hit the apex of the triangle head-on. He sank 2 balls, 1 striped and 1 solid. He pointed to the striped one, signifying his choice. "I'm plenty disciplined," said Brad. "When I was in high school, I'd come out every day after school and put in at least 4 hours of practice. Sometimes I'd come in after dinner to squeeze in a few hours more. Then on weekends I'd come and spend all day up here." "Of course you did," said Thomas. "All the pros have. Anyone can put in time. At a certain point, what matters can't be the number of hours you put in, because everybody puts in the time. What matters is how you use that time. And it seems like you spent a lot of time practicing trick shots." Thomas lined up and made several practice strokes. Brad found himself getting annoyed with Thomas. Brad knew better than to try and talk to Thomas when he was lining up a shot. That was bad etiquette, and just bad sportsmanship, plain and simple. But it kept him from offering timely retorts to Thomas's statements. It was bad sportsmanship, Brad decided, to talk to an opponent in a situation where etiquette forbade him from responding. Thomas finally took the shot and sunk a solid-colored ball, but a bad bounce put the cue in the pocket with it. Brad sighed with relief as he took control of the ball, and with it control of the conversation. "You're right, it takes a lot of practice." Brad lined up the shot, aiming at one of the balls in the opposite corner. If he could get the angle just right, he took the shot and the cue ball knocked one of the striped balls into the back left pocket, before ricocheting and hitting another ball into the back right pocket, a clean double. Brad tapped the table with his cue as if to emphasize the shot he had just made. "You don't learn how to do stuff like this overnight." "That's a nice trick," said Thomas. "Now can you do the same thing 10 times in a row without messing it up?" "No," said Brad. "It's a hard shot, about a 10%er for most people. But I'm good. I can get it 30-40%. "A 30% shot isn't worth taking," said Thomas. "If I offered you a coin flip bet with a weighted coin, would you take it?" "Well, no, of course not," said Brad. "And yet you take the low percentage shot." "I make it a higher percentage shot, though." "Yes, and I'm sure that you look like a big hero by doing it. And when you miss, no one calls you on it because defensive shots are boring." "I can play defensively," said Brad. "But you don't win games by playing defensively." "Well, of course not," said Thomas. "There's nothing on the scoreboard that lets you tabulate the places where you denied your opponent a point." Brad was getting angry now, and he began lining up his next shot, just so he wouldn't have to hear the old man talk. Some players might get tilted in a situation like this, but Brad played better when he was emotional. Whatever it was that made him play better under pressure also made him play better while angry. He couldn't even think about the shots he was making. He was operating on pure instinct and conscious thought. The thought that he was chased away by anger was only a distraction. Brad tried for another double. He missed the second ball, but one was enough to set him up for a triple bank shot, which he followed with another shot that he put a spin on. He didn't even need to curve the ball around anything. He just wanted to show Thomas that he could do it reliably. Fortunately, he didn't get punished for it. His last shot placed one of Thomas's balls between the black 8 ball and the white cue ball. Brad knew that he could sink the shot easily by hitting Thomas's solid into a stripe, but he was on fire and he wanted something flashy. He struck the cue ball's base, driving the leather tip of his stick into the table, and it bounced the ball up and over Thomas's ball, hitting his own and sending it into the pocket. Brad turned to Thomas with a look of defiance. "Looks like this game is mine, old man." "Yep," said Thomas. He took another sip of his beer. "Is that all you have to say?" "Yep," said Thomas. "How about, oh, you outplayed me?" "Do you need me to tell you that?" "Well, a little acknowledgement would be nice." A moment after he finished saying it, Brad found himself cringing. He was sounding like a petulant child. He was frustrated and angry and disappointed, but knowing all of that about himself didn't make any of it less true. Thomas shrugged. "I thought you played to win the game, not for validation." "Oh, give me a break," said Brad. "That line coming from a pro, when you compete, play to win, sure, but there's money on the line. And the money goes to the person who gets the win. You play to win the game, you get the money. But I get the feeling you're playing for something else." "What are you talking about?" said Brad. "You play to impress people. That's different from playing to win. That's why you never take the defensive shot." "I just won." "Yep," said Thomas, "but you weren't playing to win. Just because you happen to win doesn't mean you made the right decision." "How the hell does that make any sense?" said Brad. Thomas took a coin out of his pocket. "Here's a hypothetical. Suppose I have a coin. I ask you to call heads or tails on a $1 bet. Now, you know that the coin is weighted. It lands on heads 70% of the time. What do you bet on?" "Heads, of course," said Brad. "Now I flip the coin. It comes up tails. Bad luck, Brad. You just lost $1. But did you make the right decision?" "What?" Thomas continues. "If you'd called tails, you would have won the bet. Clearly, calling tails is the wrong decision. But sometimes you make the wrong decision and get short-term payoffs. That's why the fact that you won doesn't necessarily mean that you made the right decision. And sometimes these things only reveal themselves after you flip the coin hundreds of times. I've played hundreds of games, said Brad. And that's as a pro. Practice games I play 100 games in a week easy. Maybe 200 games a week depending. And how many times have you made it to the WBC? I won the WBC, said Brad. Right, said Thomas. That's the thing about calling tails. Sometimes, even if you make the wrong choice, randomness comes up in your favor and you happen to run hot. But in the long run, things don't quite pan out. Brad threw his cue down. So now you're saying that my wins were all due to luck? Not all luck, said Thomas. Like you said, it takes some skill to make a 10% shot into a 30% shot. A lot of skill, in fact. You've got good hands and a good eye for the ball. But the lust for a cool shot supersedes that. You'd rather fail spectacularly than win through boring play. Screw you, said Brad. You know what? I actually won the WBC. Maybe I did run hot for just 1 year, but at least I have a championship to my name. You made it to the final 6 times and lost every time. And now your career's done. You're over with. You'll never be a WBC champion, a title which I hold, by the way. You're right, said Thomas. I don't mean to knock the high variance approach. Maybe that's what you want, to win once and then burn out. Yeah, that is what I want, said Brad, annoyed to find himself agreeing with Thomas. What have you done with your life since retirement, old man? Ever done anything wild? I bet I've lived more in one night than you have in your entire life. I'm happy with the way I spent my life, said Thomas. No regrets. His eyes softened. Can you say the same? The question should have come as a challenge, but there was something in Thomas's eyes as he looked at Brad that made it feel even worse. Thomas's expression wasn't one of antagonism. It was one of pity. Brad knew deep in the pit of his heart that Thomas wasn't doing it to attack him, and that made it sting even worse. Brad started to say something but found himself choking on a lump in his throat, and as he reached up and felt wetness on his cheeks, he realized that he was crying. All this character development for people that we haven't even seen in game. To the cafe. I'm in. No buts. Oh, hey, Kishan. Yeah, so what is studio mode? What the heck is this? Doodle mode was painting our robots. Is studio mode like decorating or something? Eh? Is for making videos? This is too complicated for me. I am not a filmographer. That's cool though. Yeah, sent back down here. For photos, you think? Oh, maybe. But if I wanted to take photos, I'd be playing Infinity Nikki. I wonder if this cafe will eventually be all full of like NPCs. Those apples cost $4.60? That doesn't seem right. There's the banana bread. Continue? Oh, we're outside. Oh, this is kind of like the catwalk that he was talking about. But this does have handrails. Day 2, 5 p.m. outside the terminal. You right? Yeah, I guess. Cool. Mind if I join you? Go for it. Durry? Do you want a durry? I'm sorry, Durry. Coffin nail. Cigarette. Do you want a smoke or nan? Oh, right, of course. Yeah, sure. Sorry, it's been a weird day. Thanks. No worries. Where are you from, then? You're the first person to ask. I live in Collingwood. Where else can you find an active nightlife scene amid active factories, shots, and apartments built all during the 1800s? Oh yeah? Whereabouts? Smith Street. It's a bit pricey up there these days, isn't it? Bet you like your avocado toast. Avocado toast. Huh. Screw off. I got housemates. Well, yeah, I know what you mean. Bit odd. Being dead and all that. Takes some getting used to. Ned certainly knows what it's like to get used to being dead. People keep saying that, but it doesn't make me feel any better. I understand. Do you? I reckon as much as anyone can, yeah. Right. Hey, what's avocado toast actually taste like? Huh? I've never had it. Can't you just go out and eat some? I'm sure Maddie could whip it up if you asked. Avocados are a highly malevolent fruit. Don't trust them one bit. Plus, I've got this whole situation. Oh, so that's what the straw was for. You got it. So what does it taste like? I don't know, like avocado and toasted bread? Avocado is kind of cold and mushy, but it's got a good taste. Like peas? Definitely better than mushy peas. Love me a bowl of peas, mate. One famous Australian outlaw requested peas with a bottle of wine for his last meal before he was hanged. I can't imagine requesting peas for my last meal. What, because they're the only thing you can eat through a straw? Watch yourself. Gonna zap me with your Death Council powers? First off, it's the Council of Death, not the Death Council. They're totally different things. Secondly, you really think that's what we do? Walk around shooting lightning out of our fingers? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds a bit silly, yeah. We don't do anything like that. We just keep things running smoothly is all. Harassing cafe owners to settle their time debt isn't something we like to do often. So you just keep the peace? As ironic as that sounds, yeah, Ned keeps the peace. Dude, I know. Want another? Sure. I love the sunrises here. They're alright. You watch many sunrises, Ned? Not enough, no. Even semi-immortals need their sleep. Liminal space tends to draw in liminal people. I just like to sit here and watch it. Even when it's cloudy or raining, there's just something about watching the sunrise that makes it easier to deal with the coming day. Feeling optimistic all of a sudden. Nah, I still feel like crap. How about you, Kishan? Kishan? I don't feel great. I'm still having a lot of trouble. You guys, I'm dead, and I've only got a couple hours left before I have to go. And I don't think anyone here really properly understands what it's like to see your last sunrise ever without any idea of what comes next, and it's really freaking terrifying. And I'm never gonna see my friends or my boyfriend or my family again. I'm just gonna pass on, and I'll never know how they'll remember me or mourn me, or if I'm ever gonna be remembered as a good dude who tried his best, or if I'll just be forgotten in a year. But that good dude who tried his best couldn't even win a freaking game of five-finger fillet in the basement of a cafe that basically sits on the banks of the Styx, as far as I can tell. And God, I can't even tell if that matters. Were the stakes low? High? I can't tell. I'm so disoriented. And I'm trying to so desperately to feel something, but all I feel is I'm slipping away with every second. I'm losing myself by degrees, and that's incredibly scary, and I don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, fair cop. I actually came out to apologize for that. The game. Oh, for God's sake, Maddie, have you been gambling again? Can it, Ned? Kishan, I shouldn't have taken that time from you. You took it fair and square. I don't feel like I did, so I'm giving it back. Believe me, I'm as surprised as you are. I don't usually do this. What's different this time? That's my business. I can't believe you're still swindling people out of hours to try and fix your debt. Dude, I know. It's bloody undignified, and it's a clear violation of the rules. I will banish you right now, my man. I thought you'd stop pulling that crap once you took ownership of the cafe from Che. You really think doing this is going to help you pay this debt? Yes, absolutely. And if you've got any bright ideas on how to do it otherwise, I'm all ears. We should have never granted you and Che those licenses to practice. The actions of reckless necromancers make a pretty good case for the importance of occupational licensing. You've obviously failed to be responsible with them. You really think we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have the licenses, Bushman? Given your history, the hypocrisy on display here is astounding. That's all behind me, and you know it. I've been working on doing some good for the last 100 years. With the council? Really? Yes, we maintain the balance. You know why that's important. Sure do, I don't need you moralizing at me from your ivory tower. Give it a rest, guys. But I'm pulling the last day on Earth card. Quit it. It's a pretty good card. I'll be inside. Come find me when you want those hours back, Kashan. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about all of this. I've never been to the other side. I was too afraid to leave. I walked the land for decades, evading the council. That's a crime they call revenancy, or like becoming a revenant. Staying too long, upsetting the balance. But in lieu of booting me straight to the next place, or some sort of eternal punishment, the council offered me a job. Ned may have forgotten some of the sins of his past, but he's pretty sure he wouldn't be going to heaven. Sorry, that's all stuff you don't care about, I suppose. It's interesting enough. Nah, I'm just filling up empty air. You should head inside and grab those hours back. Truth be told, I'm not feeling especially fond of Maddie right now. She might have been dishonest with you, but even I can tell she's at the end of a rope. And you might not be able to see it yet, but I think the people in there are fond of you. You think so? Maddie wouldn't have offered the hours back if there wasn't something different about you. Plus, that kid Ashley seems to like you, yeah? I guess. She kinda just dragged me off and got me to hold the screwdrivers for her. Trust me, she thinks you're great. Go on, go inside and say hi. I've got some business to go stick my nose into anyway. Alright, catch you in a bit? I've got some questions about the council. Of course, I won't be out for long. Later, mate. Hey. Yo. Do you want those hours back? I guess so. It's only 4 hours. I don't think it'll make much difference. If it's okay, I'd prefer that you'd have them. Ashley's been enjoying having you around. Just Ashley? And me too, I guess. You seem pretty reluctant to admit that, my dude. Don't psychoanalyze me. Sit still for a minute. Alright, lay your hand on mine and place your index finger on my wrist. This a part of your ritual or just an excuse to hold hands? Shut up. Thanks. Watch carefully, and no matter what you do, don't move your hand. There's usually a binding spell I use to make sure that doesn't happen, but I've run out of the reagents required, and you probably don't care about that. True. Alright, yep. I give this time freely and without coercion. As above, so below, I maintain the balance. Ow. I maintain the balance. That's it. How do you feel? I actually feel better. I feel less itchy? Yeah, we weren't kidding about that yesterday. As you linger, you begin to upset the balance, and as I understand, it doesn't feel good. Right, yeah. Why does Ned get to stick around then? Does he just ignore it? The council are a special case. They're more similar to demigods or demons than they are to us. That's fascinating. Tell me about it. I'd have joined ages ago, but they're uptight jerks. They don't seem so bad to me. That's because you've not run into any of their ridiculous rules. Bunch of bloody regulations on manipulating life force and certain standards on the treatment of spirits. There's gotta be a more inclusive term than human rights for all of the not quite human entities that are floating around. Is that why you gave me the hours back? Because Ned realized you broke the rules? No, that was all within the guidelines despite his blustering. I gave them back because I felt bad, that's all. Thank you, Jem. I'm gonna do a big stretch too. Big stretch. Oh, neat, so you pity me. I love that. I'm actually really into it. Nah, dude, it's not like that at all. Nah, you don't need to clarify, I get it. Seriously. Last day on Earth. Moving on. Fine, sure, I'm sorry. I'll dip, watch your caffeine intake. Okay, thanks, John. Sorry, I've got to serve this customer. I'll help. Really? It's probably not a two-person job. Sometimes two people working on a task will be less efficient than one. Sometimes Keyshawn doesn't care. Yep. Come on. Day 2, 6 p.m. The terminal. Phew. Anything else that needs doing? Nah, I'm gonna take this tray of glasses into the kitchen. You can go chill for a bit. I'll take them. You need a break. Sure. Where's the kitchen? That way, you'll find it eventually. Cool, back in a minute. Is he about to disappear? They're playing chess. Your pawns are nothing compared to the raw power of my castles. Rook and castle both offer protection for the defending team, but rook seems to be more popular. Nothing. Yeah? What's this then? Ah! My castle! Brought low by my own hubris. Nah, it was just a pawn. It was just a pawn. And maybe a little bit of hubris. When Chase sees Ashley thriving, it's hard for him to feel like he's doing the wrong thing. Maybe that makes him overconfident, but maybe it makes him just the right amount of confident. Bishop! Knight! Arg! Your other castle, and check. Check, you say? Oh, I didn't think of that. You activated my trap card. Oh, hey, Maddie, come check this out. I tricked him into a false sense of security. Oh man, that's embarrassing. You seriously let her outmaneuver you that hard? Yes. I'm very ashamed. I suppose the real hubris was inside me all along. I freaking love winning. I should try doing this more often. A chance win at chess. Could grow into a big winning streak, you know? You wanna play something with us? I should really head back down to the bar. There's nobody there. Come on, take a load off. If anyone really needs you, they'll know where to find you. How about I grab a solid drink, make sure there's nobody waiting down there, and then we play something. Won't be 5 minutes. You actually gonna come back this time? You never come back. I'll come back. Promise. Why don't you pick out a game while I'm gone? Let's find something, Ashley. What do you feel like playing today? Something with lots of dice. The past tense of die is died. The plural of die is dice. Dice it is. We'll see you in a minute, Maddie. Day 2, 6:15, Ashley's workshop. Are they underwater somehow on this side, or is that an aquarium? They're playing a board game. And that's where the 4th season of Row Battle Royale was an absolute betrayal. But you still want to be on it one day? Well, yeah. Unless an indie circuit opens up. Like in wrestling? Exactly like in wrestling. Melvin's got a local show. I want something like that. You could probably put your own local league together if you worked really hard. Perhaps you could build the robots and get people to battle them. Human-controlled bots are boring, though. I want to get more of that spirit juice and put together a bigger Ashley. Veteran necromancers will advise that spirit juice is not something to play around with. Masters know that playing around is the best way to learn. How big? I think I'll start at car size and then move on to a more bus-adjacent form factor. I'm not sure we have enough to power one of those. You'd have to get Maddie to source you a large amount of it. We need liters of it at least. That'd be super cool. Didn't you say it was illegal, though? Well, technically. But what Ned doesn't know won't hurt him. He'd lose his head if he knew half the things we were doing here. I don't know, he seems fairly lenient with you though, right? He wasn't always like that. A long time before you turned up, he nearly shut me down because I... Would you believe it's because I sheltered a criminal? Ned nearly shut you down because of that? Am I thinking of the same criminal you are? Trust me, the irony was apparent. I found it very, very funny. What sort of criminal were they? Just a minor demon on the run. Most demons aren't lucky enough to find someone as welcoming as Che, especially the ones that haven't had a chance to make a name for themselves. I don't know what she did to get a price on her head. I just took her in when she stumbled through the door dripping blood everywhere. Huh, that's metal. It was extremely metal. How long did you manage to hide her for? Oh, not too long, maybe 6 weeks? The time flew by, if I'm being honest. Why is that? Was she from the clock realm? No, nothing like that. We, bonded. Magically? How'd you do that? I thought I heard you telling Maddie that sort of thing was impossible between beings on this plane. No, not magically. We were, lovers. Ew! Yuck! Ew! Happier days. I love hearing about when you were young and reckless. Gosh, what do you think I am now, huh? Old and boring? Definitely old. Despite myself, I must say you're definitely not boring. There's that patented Maddie charm. Well, you know me, I'm full of them. Oh yeah. Charms. Hexes. Curses. That's all on your account, old man. Huh, I won't deny it. Hey, Maddie. Hey, dude, having trouble finding the kitchen? Yeah, I couldn't. I checked everywhere. It's just behind the bar, man. You can't miss it. I told you I checked everywhere. Nah, you're not catching my drift. It's just behind the bar. You can't miss it. Have another look. It'll be there this time. Sometimes you gotta remind the quantum hallways that they exist. Fine. How long are we gonna keep him here, Maddie? Oh, we're keeping him? No, we're not keeping him. I'm going to let him stay as long as he wants. He'll leave on his own accord at some point. You feel sorry for him? Weirdly, yes. I don't usually get attached to customers, but he's a good dude. I like him. Do you like him because he's nice, or because he was good at passing your tools over? Yes. Don't get too attached. He's not going to be here forever. Well, duh, I know how it works. I'm going to enjoy having him around, though, just like you taught me. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Ashley, that's from the motivational calendar I threw out last week. I never said that. Same. I'm used to people moving on at this point. I can deal with it. Good. Day 2, 6:30 p.m. Frick. You gonna keep staring at that coffee stain or nah? Yes? Okay, whatever. What do you want from this conversation? I'm an open book as far as matters of life and death are concerned. Yeah, I don't want to go. I know you've probably heard this from like, I don't know, 1,000 people or whatever. Given the amount of traffic the terminal gets and how long it's been open, 1,000 people is a pretty low estimate. It's not about staying around for people or wanting to go back to my old life. As wonderful and not stressful as that sounds. Like, I'm not afraid of what lies on the other side. I don't think there's any point to worrying about it until I'm there. I just don't think I've spent enough time here. The cafe? No. All this, I guess you could just call it this plane? Roughly speaking, I suppose so. I want to know what you did to be able to stay. Sure. Did Maddie give you those hours back? Yeah, why? Well, that's a way. You can just find enough hours to stay as a spirit, half here, half gone. But it's a wretched existence. I wouldn't want to live like that. How would you find the hours, though? There's only so many you can get from consenting beings, right? The crappy psychology of gambling aside, you're right, yes. So the question is, how do you do that? How do you create life from nothing? The answer is that you can't, Kishan. It's impossible. There's always got to be some sort of balance maintained. Everyone who learns to manipulate the fundamental life forces understands that, no matter what they're doing good or bad things with their skills. Here's the thing, though. You don't need both parties to agree. It's just a social nicety. Something that separates us from, well, people who don't do that. That's where the idea of vampires came from, for example. Those bastards. They're not special or anything. They're just jerks. Anyway, if you can take life force from people, you can also drain it from animals or plants. But in this business, there's a lot of we don't or can't understand. One of the things we can't understand is why life force from animals and plants is tainted. It feels gross. If it didn't, everyone would take it. Consequences be damned. How were you feeling today before Maddie took the hours back? I felt like I was slipping away. Like my mind was really foggy. It's scary to run when it's foggy. You don't know where you might be running towards. It was really hard to think or put sentences together. Nobody really noticed, though. Typical. Imagine that, but 10 times worse. You're foggy, but there's also something fundamentally wrong. Like you're a collection of puzzle pieces that don't quite fit together. Like an engine that's running out of oil. That sounds horrifying. Right? So should I do it? Probably not. How would I stay otherwise? Well, you could always go on the lam, just run for it. But you'd catch me. Well, not me personally, but yes, the council would eventually. And that's it? That's my only option? Perhaps. Depends on how you feel about bonding your soul for eternity to a fundamentally neutral arbiter of justice. The downside of neutral arbiters is that they're never on your side. Well, I have no strong feelings about it one way or another. Smartass. Would you regret it if you stayed here forever instead of moving on? I don't know, I guess that'd be up to me, right? How do you mean? In the end, how I feel about taking a big branch in my life is just a matter of how I frame it. I can focus on what I'll regret, sure, but it's not a useful way to spend my time. If I focus on the future, on everything that's in the possibility space instead of outside it, that's probably better for me, yeah? Sure. You don't sound convinced. I'm just ambivalent on it. I try not to think about anything too hard these days. But if you're willing to accept internal bondage with the council, I can keep you here. It's not easy work, though. You have to act in the best interest of the system, not its individual parts. Bureaucracy at its finest. How did you learn to deal with it? Just took some time. When you're used to it, you learn not to think too hard about what you're doing. As long as you take a holistic view of everything, things generally shake out alright. We tend to only bother the biggest rule breakers anyway. Maddie being one of them? Habitually. She wouldn't be getting so much leeway if it weren't for Che. I don't really understand that guy. He is nice, we've chatted a bit. But what makes him so special? He's provided services in the past. I can count on one hand the number of people who know as much about the manipulation of life force as he does. He's been researching it for over 100 years. A lot has changed since the days when Che was a young man. No way, he's that old? He looks like 60 max. Yep, much older than that. That's wild. We're getting sidetracked though. How do you feel about joining the council? I don't hand out offers willy-nilly, you know. I'm interested, but can I have some time to think about it? How much time do you have? You've been out for nearly 25 hours. You're overdue. Put it on Maddie's tab. Okay. I assume you're not going to stick around forever. Unlikely if the next few hours are anything like how I felt this morning. I'll stick around until you have a solid answer then. Cool. Wanna get drunk? We're already drinking, mate. Nah, Che told me about something pretty special he's got behind the bar. Unless it's something really special, he'd probably offered me some. And even then. So you've tried the bottled soul? You pulling my leg? Nope. You've got to be mistaken. You haven't seen it in person, have you? Yeah, I actually have seen it. That's quite illegal. I expected better from him. Damn. So are we gonna drink it or not? Council regulations require me to confiscate it or force the owner to dispose of it. Ned doesn't steal anymore. He just sees his assets. It's a completely different thing. We'd be doing him a favor then. I suppose. Come on, dude. Chase said it'd knock you flat. When you say you, do you mean me? Or you? Or just like anyone who drinks it? Anyone. It's like 200% alcohol or something. That's not technically possible. But I'll admit my interest is piqued. Well, let's not waste any time. Dang. This was a setup, wasn't it? Basically. You in? Fine. Oh, this looks deadly. Good thing dead people can't get alcohol poisoning. Ayy. To bureaucracy. Blink. Huh. To bureaucracy. Yo. Your orders arrived. 3 days late, mate. It got held up by a mutual acquaintance of ours. Ah, shoot. That explains why he's in my hair. I'll be there in half an hour. Her phone wallpaper is coffee beans. Every hero goes to hell at some point, and in the stories they usually come back, which is the bit that seems weird to me. I don't think that's how it works in real life. The cafe has a bunch of heroes come through, claiming they were going to conquer hell and come back, but they never returned as far as I saw. The idea of catabasis is that, in the grand scheme of things, hell or the underworld or Hades or whatever you want to call it, anyway, it's on the outside of wherever we are, like we're trapped inside the sphere and we leave it to go to hell. Did the ancient Greeks ever consider that maybe we've been on the outside the whole time just waiting to get in? Maybe they did. Matter of perspective, I guess. I'll ask one sometime if I ever meet one. But perhaps we're just waiting our entire lives for this. To pass through the firmament to the next place. To be driftwood that washes up on the shore of wherever that next place actually is. Seems weird, but maybe that's where we're naturally meant to be. I'm thinking it's possible that this world isn't some sort of proving ground or anything. Maybe it's just a waiting room. A beautiful, flawed, complex waiting room. Personally, I don't think there's anything like heaven or hell waiting for us. No judgment either. The world doesn't ever operate in binaries or absolutes. That's just flawed human thinking projected onto things that are much, much more complex than they could ever perceive. I don't think what's waiting on the other side is even something we can conceptualize. I bet it's cool. It's a shame it's a one-way trip, though. I like my little robot dudes. It's a cute idea letting you draw their faces. I don't blame you. Maybe one day soon I'll be able to stop blaming myself too. You can now speak to Tuan and Hannah to experience the side story Walking to the Sky. Oh, we're outside now. Cool. Alright, I think it still won't let me save, but we will stop here for today. We will play some more next week. Thank you for hanging out with me today, friends. Let's see if we have any friends we can raid. We'll see who's streaming. Who's on today? Ooh, Nap is playing Stanley Parable. Let's go raid Nap. I played the Stanley Parable a long time ago. It was quite interesting. Alright, Curry Day raid! Alright, bye everybody! Have a good rest of your day. Have fun over on Map Stream. Bye bye!